Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas! Everyone dies! Welcome to Mike in the Asylum! And I'm your host, Liam Grant.
Ron Van Buskirk.
Jesse Neto.
And Sydney Cisneros.
Now, join us this night while we talk about one of the better holiday movies in the horror genre.
I'd probably
dude.
say best. At
Yeah.
least in the upper echelon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely and that you brought that up. Like, it's the first holiday horror movie that took off.
And it's
like
better than Silent Night, Deadly Night. At
Yes.
least. So,
First
You
slasher,
got that
too.
right.
yeah,
one
first
of
life.
the
Yeah.
first. I was talking about this, and I consider it like the first slasher, but I know you can like weasel and argue Psycho, but I don't know.
Now,
Yeah.
if you're not...
It's the first slasher with what we traditionally call a slasher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where the
Now, if
killing
you're-
is what matters. Where in Psycho, the killings aren't really the point of the story.
Now, if you're not a detective, we're talking about Black Christmas.
Yeah,
No.
the 1974 Black Christmas, and
Yes, exactly.
Starring such famous people as and
Margot Kidder.
Is that
That's
from
true.
Lois.
Is that Jess?
Yeah,
Oh,
no, she's the drunker.
No, you're Jess.
thank you.
Jess is played by Olivia Jose.
Which,
Jose.
if you've ever
Jose?
watched...
Hosea. How you spell it? Hussey.
Hussey.
If
No,
English-
I think I said that wrong.
If in English class you ever were forced to watch Romeo and Juliet, she was Juliet.
And and also for the newer audience, or like the younger people.
She
Yes,
was in Rogue
when
Squadron.
I was gonna say no. She was she's Bill's wife on the 1990 Stephen King's It.
Fuck, she
yes,
was in
for all
Star
of
Wars,
you
that's
young
more
kids
important.
out there who
Yeah.
watched
See,
the
for all
original
you young
It
kids
movies.
who are
Yeah,
tired playing
exactly.
Fortnite and decide to
It's-
watch 1990s It.
They
Seriously.
still watch it.
They still, yeah.
She was in like 3 Star Wars games. I was very surprised.
Oh really? Oh, of course you would find that
Now,
out.
course I
now, which Star Wars games?
Rogue Squadron, The Old Republic, and
Good.
the one I never
Good.
played.
Wow,
And
the
also
Holy
good.
Trinity.
And guess what?
What?
This is a Canadian film.
Uh-huh.
Dang it, Jesse!
I blame you.
So yeah, that's why Jesse loves it so much.
America just sucks. What can I say?
Why does Jesse like Canadian movies so much?
Wow.
And of course, we can't forget about John Saxon being in this movie.
Oh,
Or
of
John
course, my
Kennedy.
personal hero.
Cop
Yes.
Dad.
Cop Dad, Lieutenant.
Always Cop Dad.
I know. He's like kind of typecast.
He does
That's
it well.
Cop Dad.
But a little bit on the backstory before this. They had a $620,000 budget and made $4 million in the box office. So I'd say that's a hit.
And
I'm
back in the
happy.
day, that was like a
Yes.
boom.
And of course,
Of course, you had to herd your cattle before going to the movie
That's like
picture
4
show.
goats.
This-
Had to
The
walk
direct-
to the theater uphill both ways.
oh my gosh. The director is Bob Clark, and Bob Clark is known for another Christmas movie. Don't say nothing,
I
because
didn't
I already
say
told you.
anything.
But Sydney, can you guess what other Christmas movie he made?
It's gonna be something stupid. Like it's not. I know this isn't gonna be the movie, but it's gonna be something stupid like Christmas shoes.
No.
Oh, God.
No, it's A Christmas Story. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Oh shit! The good.
Oh,
one.
shit. Oh, a good one.
that was roughly around the same response.
Yes.
Dang.
Let's do Christmas
he
shoes
was-
one day. That's kind
and
of
the-
a horror movie.
And a little bit
Yeah.
of a
When
back-
Rob Lowe enters your life.
It's very horrific.
Well, it's the one where God teaches Rob Lowe to love him by giving a little
Killing
girl
a
cancer or
child's
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
They also made a country song about it.
not,
Yeah,
not
it's
to
real
get
Song
bad.
came first.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
not to give too much of the spoilers at the beginning of this, but with this being like one of the first ones, it was John Carpenter's favorite movie, and he actually went to Bob Clark with the idea of making a sequel and he pretty much went and said, hey, wouldn't it be great if the killer like escaped from like some sort of mental institution, came back on, let's say, Halloween, and killed all these sorority girls. And of course, Bob was like, "No, I'm done with the whole horror scene. I'm done." And of course, John Carpenter made what? Halloween. So Halloween was literally the pretty much like, or this movie was like the basis for what would Halloween be.
Yep.
So
And it shows.
So and it does show a lot, and there's a lot of like nods. You know, you could definitely like the POV, like where Michael Myers at the very beginning.
Everyone says Halloween made all the tropes. It ain't so.
I actually
Nope.
really like the POV shots in this one
love this
more than Halloween original.
I don't, because I was cracking up a little bit because like the part where he's coming into the window in the attic. You'll see, you can see the camera lens, like shadow, like because you see the shadows, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're holding the camera.
It's really funny.
And I could tell that they were trying their best not to put the shadow of the lens on there, but of course one got through.
He's an aspiring filmmaker. Don't make fun of him.
No. It
It's,
was great.
it's actually kind of funny talking about this movie because most of the problems I have with it kind of fall back on your traditional slasher tropes. But at the same time, this is the movie that invented those tropes, so it's like, whatever.
I also think it's funny because it defies a lot of those tropes that it like sets up in a weird way.
Exactly. This is even the first. Never mind. It's kind of a spoiler, so I won't say it right now until we get. Into
I know
discussion.
it's so hard to touch, and it's
So
like
in that
touching
case,
it.
let's get into it.
Yes,
I would
let's
want
do
to say
it.
one thing.
Yes.
This movie actually like holds up a lot better than other slasher
Oh, for
movies.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can just like make a shot for shot remake of this, and people would definitely love it and
Like,
because it just carries over so well into this.
Plus, is the visuals in the movie are like really striking too. Like I absolutely adore the lighting in this movie. Where like whenever
Unlike
you're in the
Halloween.
house, everything is super shadowed and everything. But the minute you get like an exterior shot, I don't know if like it was intentional or if it was just the lenses and the lights they were using on the house. But the Christmas lights are almost oppressive, like a roaster's chicken sign outside your window.
Yeah.
And like how Halloween barely looks like Halloween, this one looks like the fuck out of Christmas.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, because I might reference a little bit of the 2006 version. It doesn't blow. It's okay.
I've never seen it.
It really like
you're not the only one, Sydney.
the main thing I love about the remake was like what the first one didn't give us was a lot of like the visuals of the death scenes happening. Which is fine. It works for that time. But the new ones, like they were like, oh, like death by icicle or death by candy cane or stuff like that. That kind of like just makes me think, wow, that's thinking outside the box.
I feel weird when you bring those up because all I can think is, wow, I've seen that before. I've seen so many characters get killed by icicles or candy canes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
It happens a lot more
Like-
than you'd think.
You know, Garbage Day, Silent Night. does that
Garbage
too.
Day!
Spoilers, there's a candy cane death.
I don't know, but like I could find some like in it, and then of course they have some actresses that I do like in it. I know you said you wanted them all to die.
I
Like
want
John
every
Saxon.
character in the remake to die.
As soon as you receive a text in like 1:00 a.m. about how much I hate flesh cookies, you'll know when I see the remake.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, that's
pretty
all.
gross.
That's all I know about the
That's-
remake is
that
the
is
flesh
pretty gross.
cookies.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
love scene.
Yep.
And the love
Oh,
scene that was
scene.
hard to watch.
Let's get Lannister up in here.
All right,
the
so
grandma rocking
let's
chair.
go. Let's time travel right back to 1974. All right, so go ahead. We won't say what the urban legend, because
Oh yeah, that's kind of the whole point.
the thing is, the main premise of this movie was based off an urban legend that the director heard, and he wrote the story
If
about
you've
it.
ever read a creepypasta in your life, you'll probably know it.
Yeah.
And I want to say another movie that did this very well, but that would ruin the whole
Yeah.
spoiler. So let's go ahead and get into the.
Well, we open up with a nice shot of the house, and it's all Christmassy, and we're doing fa la la, and it's a sorority house, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Which, again, I don't mean to interrupt you, but right away you can see exactly what I'm talking about. With like the Christmas lights, they don't even look like string lights. They look like
Oh, yeah.
little tiny suns all over the house. They're so intense.
it looks like it took a lot of effort because they're in like the trees that are outside.
Well,
they're all around the house.
And Christmas lights back then in the 70s, those were like hot to touch.
Yes.
Like you
Yeah,
don't touch them. So yeah, they were like little fire deaths.
That's why I think that they weren't that whole visual thing wasn't intentional. That it was just a side effect of the lights they were using mixed with
It's
the
a
whatever
good
film or
side
camera they were
effect.
filming
It
on.
really
But
is.
So I think Jess enters the house first.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's who we follow in first. But then a thing I kind of like is as she gets into the house, The camera is almost acting like POV because it follows her as she walks through the house, like past the windows. But then it cuts to an actual POV shot of somebody who's breathing really heavily because serial killers just do that for some reason. They all have asthma.
They do.
He all walks up and starts creeping, bruh, and then he climbs his way into the attic, and we're slowly introduced to the characters as this happens because it's cutting back and forth between him sneaking around and all the girls being like, "Woo, Christmas party, let's drink."
Imagine if he sneezed.
They would all movie over.
Yeah, like introducing the characters.
Or you,
Achoo! Shit! Like scurrying
or he
out.
stubbed his toe on one of those.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the most like I don't even know what to describe it as. It's like one of the weirdest things about the movie is that this is literally the quietest human being alive, considering
Like,
what happens throughout this movie.
How
nothing
loud he
ever
is.
creaks in this house except for like once, and they think it's the cat. Like, this is a very sturdy, well-built house too.
Well, it's the 70s. They built everything in the 70s.
Oh, there
That's
you go.
true.
I don't know.
I mean, he's right. 'Cause
Sounds
it's
good.
just like
So good.
nowadays, if you walk through any house that's like made, like every footstep is like creak, creak.
And there probably was, but that was probably like, oh, we got to take that out because I don't want that.
Oh,
you know.
So the house mother gets back with a bunch of like, ooh, what does she bring? No, she doesn't bring anything. They
Sure.
give her a gift.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
give her a
she just
gift.
she just shows up back up home.
Mainly, it's a gift. It's a nightgown, and they're trying to get her to go to
Terrible-looking
bed.
one. And they're all like, "I'll put it on." She's like, "Fucking fine." She's a great character.
And I will
Yeah, I love
say
her.
she's one of my favorite characters.
because after
when you
everyone
first meet her, she's acting like a sweet, loving, caring matriarch figure. It's great.
And then after everyone skittles away to off whatever they do, she immediately like goes to a cabinet with a bunch of books, pulls out one of the encyclopedias, and opens it up to a bottle of rum.
Yeah.
So you see
know
her
the-
drinking all the time, but she never just drinks. It's always hidden somewhere in the house.
It's really impressive.
You
Lot
know
of sherry.
the mother in Nightmare on Elm Street.
This is
she's
has to
just
be
a
the
rookie.
inspiration for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just a rookie. This is the master. Okay,
And see,
it's just
and yeah, we were just talking about this before we started recording. Yeah, there's a lot of like other horror movies that kind of like mirror this movie.
Why would you hide
like,
bottle
you
of
know.
booze in the toilet?
I know.
Oh,
Thinking
no,
that, I was
that's
like,
actually a common thing. Like a lot of people hide
Oh, yeah.
stuff in the tank of their toilet
It's the
because that
last-
water's clean. It's literally just water.
and it's
Yeah.
the last place you would look.
Yeah.
Unless something's clogged.
So
But yeah,
there's
like-
a famous action movie where like a guy hides a bunch of guns in the tank of his toilet, but I don't
Nice.
remember what it is.
Nice.
Like Ron said, it's weird to watch this movie now because it's almost like there's a bunch of references to movies that haven't happened yet. Because
Yeah.
there's like hockey masks. There's like the cop from Nightmare on Elm Street who is
Yeah.
in a very similar role. It's
Very
It's like
sim-
it's like
it's
it's like
he
if you
was
read Lord of the
lieutenant.
Rings for the first time and then you complain, "Oh, Lord of the Rings stole everything for a bunch of other books," and it's like, no, it's
everything
invented all
came
of
from
them.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's Grandpappy.
yep. This is when we get our first phone call, I believe. Is Jess is the one who grabs it. Oh, we got one earlier that happened. Because-
That was the first one. It was a weird phone call and like what is the character of Margot or Kidder?
Uh-huh.
I forgot her name. Lois Lane. We'll say Lois Lane right
Was
now.
she the one that was always drunk?
Yeah, she's always drunk.
Okay.
Which
I
is,
liked her.
I will say this. This kind of depressed me now watching because when she passed away of an apparent suicide of pills and alcohol. Like she battled
So that's the
alcoholism.
second person in this
So-
movie who's died.
Yeah, so it's really
Don't
really
tell
sad. So, but yeah, she gets on the phone, and of course the obscene things is like, I want to lick you somewhere where you know, like
The earlobe.
yes, the very pink earlobe.
Yeah.
And so it was very
making
obscene
hog
stuff.
noises and stuff like that.
And it's clear that this has happened before
Yeah.
because all the girls kind of gather around
like
because
this-
oh, it's another one.
It's
I
another
think they
one.
call him the moaner or something.
Yeah, the
Yes.
moaner.
And so they're all listening, and it's clear like some of them are like laughing at this, thinking it's stupid. Like the one we'll call her Lois Lane, that she was because she was like bantering back and forth with it, sort of as it was being described. Like she heard what was going on. But then there's another girl who's clearly like super uncomfortable. I forget her name, but she says that like
It was
"Oh,
like Amanda.
yeah, you shouldn't encourage like behavior like that
Oh.
or whatever. And
Her name was Barb.
Barb,
Barb.
yeah, that's Lois Lane.
Lois Lane is Barb.
But the other one is like, yeah, you shouldn't do something like that. And then Barb tells her to like fuck off or something. She says something very rude.
Yeah.
And she like the other one goes upstairs to be like, oh, I'm packing because
Yeah,
with
that's
Christmas
Claire.
time.
Claire goes upstairs.
With Christmas time, everyone's about to go home, so everyone's packing and stuff, being left to their own devices. So Claire gets up in her room and is packing, and having a good time. There's a cat that she cuddles and is adorable, even though Ron hates cats.
Pretty cute cat.
Dislike cats.
Ron, why do you hate cats so much?
God, I didn't know this was the hot seat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nah.
This
It's
is,
a podcast.
Why-
Every seat's the hot seat.
Why do you love cats so much? Because
They're fluffy and adorable.
because they're adorable and they're not as hyperactive as dogs.
You fuck yourself. I love dogs.
I love
Dogs-
dogs too, but like I don't want like
We're
a
rebranding
dog
to a
just hiding in an
pet-themed
air
podcast.
vent like a xenomorph ready for loving and stuff like that.
And on next week's episode, we're going to PetSmart.
We're going to
You know,
PetSmart.
you know,
and
you
then
know
we're
a
gonna-
Christmas
Next week,
movie
Parrots versus
that
Goldfish.
I loved that involved cats in it?
What?
Cats versus dogs.
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Damn it.
or Christmas Vacation. You know the cat? That's a one fried kitty. No, all right. Let's go back to Claire up in her
So
bedroom.
Claire's
pack-
packing, the
Yep.
cat runs away and scampers away, and then you hear a noise, and
Yeah, it's
like
like-
it's the beginning of this trope where it's like, oh, I heard a noise, I shall investigate, instead of
Mm-hmm.
being like, well, the cat clearly didn't make that noise, bye. But yeah, she like slowly creeps up towards the closet because that's where we had a POV
Yeah.
shot. The great thing about this scene is that you know before she does, because
Yeah.
right away, like when she gets into the room, it shows the POV shot of the dude hiding in the
Yeah.
closet, so the whole
He's
scene,
like-
you know that he's there.
Yeah, it's like dry cleaner bags or something.
And
Yeah,
so she
exactly.
approaches, like, tries to start pushing the bags aside, and then he just, like, real quickly wraps them around her head and
Head.
starts to suffocate her.
Suffocate her.
And we cut away before she is killed, back to, like, the shenanigans with the girls and stuff. And I think they're all, like, laughing and doing something that covers up the noise.
They're doing the gift exchange with them.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're all screaming and laughing
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff. So
And then of course you got the cool white guy with the afro.
that
Yes,
dude's
yeah.
great.
They
He's
do.
so
that
Yeah,
was good.
and I bring him
He's
up
ho,
because
ho, ho,
he
shit.
his afro was awesome, and then like I just loved his attitude about the whole Christmas spirit. It's like when do these little fuckers show up? 7 o'clock in the morning. Damn it!
Damn it.
So that happens, and then we cut back to Claire in the chair with the bag
You know,
still wrapped
right-
around.
Oh yeah, up in the attic.
Yeah.
Like, he took her body up in the attic. Like so, pretty much what we're getting is the attic's going to be this slasher's home base.
This is my
You know.
safe space.
And again, it's really like a good creepy factor because like the killer is in this house the whole time, and that that body is also in the house the whole time.
So what I will say is like it's actually kind of one of my complaints with the movie is that
Ooh.
like that image. No, it's not even really a complaint. It's just like one of those kind of things where he kills her with the plastic bag, and like that's something originally even for today. You never really see anyone get strangled with a bag, even though it's an incredibly gruesome and shocking and visually interesting way to kill someone in a movie. But he does it like first thing. It's like the first thing that happens in the movie, and nothing else except for maybe one other death scene. Nothing else that happens after this is as visually striking, which is a little unfortunate.
And,
But-
and that
I
was
sort of disagree with the last one, but we'll get back to that.
yeah.
As I said, like I'm not going to say they all are. There's one in particular that is almost as good, but
I will say that the actress or whatever they did when because they pan on her a lot, up in the chair with the bag over her head.
Surprisingly
She-
enough, she doesn't run away.
Yeah.
which
she
is
doesn't-
which is
no, but she
actually a
doesn't
positive
move.
because
She
that creepy
doesn't-
image of her in the window is great.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like she doesn't move. That's one thing. Like when people die in horror movies, I always try to look to see if they're breathing or something. But she had no tell signs.
I've seen great movies
Yeah.
with huge budgets that
Yeah.
still you can see them
Exactly.
breathing.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
can see it pulsate. Like, come on, do something, or
And,
like
it, and
if
it
you know
obviously
that.
wasn't a dummy either.
Yeah.
you know how they got that shot? They actually killed the actress.
Honestly, I would not be
Is that
shocked.
anything else?
She was a method actress, so they had to kill
Yeah,
her.
she went method on this rule.
But it's like so really cool because like the first dead the actress who played dead that we talked about was Jane Doe,
Yeah.
and like even then this one I liked her in or I liked Amanda in Black Christmas a lot more than
To be fair,
Yeah.
Jane Doe actually was a mannequin or prop a lot of the time.
really.
When they
Yeah.
would cut to her face, that was like a real actress. But anytime it was like just like a far shot or medium on the table, that was mostly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Plus,
I
believe
imagine
from what
I
I
imagine when they do like the whole autopsy and like
Yeah,
stuff,
definitely once she's all
and
cut up.
mess with the face. I assumed it was fake.
Yeah, when she has the Y incision.
Like
and the
she's not
stomach's
that
down.
much of a method actor.
But I can see where you're coming from though, because she has that plastic bag on her head, and if she would have breathed at all, it would have shown up.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, look at her eyes. Like, they're dead staring eyes. Like,
And that's
like
also,
I'm just like, wow.
To be
And-
fair, all of us have really dead eyes too.
We did.
well, no, like you know,
No,
like
no, you're right.
yeah.
We're teasing. Another thing that I really like about giving that actress credit is that's like a effect or like whatever you want to call it, where that's actually like super dangerous to like
Yeah.
have the bag wrapped around.
Yeah, no,
her
she
head.
actually had a plastic bag on her head.
I kind of would love
kinda
to
fucked up.
see the behind the scenes on that.
Mm.
You know, just to say, how did you get this to like be so great?
Now the camera never lingers on her, so I bet it's literally just okay. Now put this bag over your head, breathe in, and we'll keep the camera on you.
I'd say
for-
the
Yeah,
longest
the
shot is
longest-
probably like 10 or
al-
15 seconds.
I always thought like since the bag
Yeah.
went into her mouth, I thought like they cut a hole.
That's really hard to see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that's
but like
that's
even
what
then,
happened.
if she would have breathed,
Yeah,
out,
she
the
would
bag
have
still
breathed, it
would've
would have
puffed
done.
out.
Like, like probably not like a heavy breathing like Billy or something like that.
Well, actually, no. Like even if you just went like just like super subtle and soft.
I love how we're
tell
just
you,
like
tell
talking
you
about.
what.
Yeah.
Let's go to Target right now.
Let's
we'll
get a
some-
plastic bag.
We'll get some
Isn't
plastic
it-
bags.
Isn't
I
it?
volunteer as
Right
tribute.
here.
Isn't it funny that we are like so like trying to figure out how they did this in a 1974, but then we can watch a horror movie that they just did 2 years ago. We're like, oh, that fucker.
it's
He, like,
computers.
like, or
It's almost like modern horror movies suck or something.
yeah, it's like. Yeah.
Wow, what message are we
practical.
getting at?
I know.
So the next day we
they,
get
they actually smash cut like from her. We fade to black, and then the immediate next shot is her father waiting
Yep,
for her, and it's
yeah.
like, ah, that's sad.
Mr. Harrison
And
is
I-
waiting for his daughter.
I was I mentioned earlier that I actually like pretty much love all the characters in this movie. I even love this father because he just seems really genuine all the time. He's just like being ferried from one place to another, and he's like, "Oh, let's find her," and "Oh, I don't approve of this."
I hated Sergeant Nash, but I think I enjoyed hating
Oh,
him
Sergeant
because
Nash
I
is great. I
I
love
understand
Sergeant
why
Nash.
they have that
I
character.
agree with Sydney. It's like I loved him because he was such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He wasn't
and
just
of
a
course-
piece of shit. He was a dumb piece of shit.
He was.
Okay, and then of course we get Miss McHenry, the house mother, to meet him up, and she's kind of like
We're
bizarre,
skipping
like,
when he gets decked in the face with a snowball from a shit kid.
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Then what
yeah.
a terrible day. Your daughter
God,
dies and you get hit in the face
But
with
he
a
doesn't
snowball.
Oh, I
know
love
that
that
yet.
bit.
I
Where
know.
the guy, like the teacher or supervisor, whoever runs up to him, is like, "Hey, I'm sorry about that, man," and he's like, "You should control your kids better." And he's just like, "Fuck you, guy."
Yeah,
I did like
sorry.
that. I did like,
Like-
that altercation.
Like I looked away. I was like, "What I missed? Why is he yelling fuck you?"
And I really like that, and I like a lot of other interactions between the characters because they all feel very natural and like they flow really.
They do, but they also feel super 70s, especially
Well, yeah.
when the
I wonder
father
how-
character is interacting with the girls, where
For sure.
he'll always say something, and then no matter what he says, everyone will just be like, "Shut up, square."
I wonder how
That's
many
so
times.
70 movie.
I wonder how many times they had to pelt him with a snowball till they got it right.
I read a thing that said the focus of making this movie was kind of the same as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where they wanted a very documentary-esque feeling, like this was a real crime thing being enacted.
Yeah, and like going a little back to the beginning, like that POV shot was so great. Like I
Well,
mean,
like you alluded to the urban legend that this is based off of, and that's part of it, where it's like
Yeah.
everyone's heard of this, so we're gonna.
yeah. So we're gonna
He meets the house mother, like
yeah, meets the house mother, which I love this altercation.
she's covering up like a porn poster on the wall, and so
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, the good girls are here. We don't they don't get too crazy. We just have a little bit of
It's
fun."
like,
And
oh,
he's
look at
like,
that peace sign.
Just hiding that crack.
"Uh-huh."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course, well,
Thank you.
that and, like he's asking where's Claire, and the house mother doesn't even know. She's kind of baffled about it, but she's kind of just trying to cover for her. It's like, well, I didn't let my daughter come to this school for fornication
Well,
so
there's,
much.
there's also
and
confusion
fornication.
because like it's time for everyone to pack up and leave. A lot of the girls have already left, so she's it's kind of having to figure out. Was like, well, I just assumed she had already left. It's like, no, she was supposed to meet me, so they have to like get stories straight and understand the full scope of what's happening. And eventually, why did they go to the? He takes her somewhere because she says, "Oh, something."
Oh, like she needed groceries.
Oh yeah, because she goes,
and
oh, you
because
could take.
a lot of other girls are at like a party.
Yeah.
That like is where she's probably there.
Which I love, like her banter, like behind the scenes, you know. And of course we keep seeing her taking shots of the sherry, so you can definitely tell this house mother is self-medicating.
At
She's
any
very
given-
tired.
At any given point, I would say there's no less than 5 bottles in every room.
Exactly.
stashed away. Like she's ready.
I assume there's one in the wall, kind of like Sicario.
Yeah. And you know what I love? There's like different levels in each of them, so I would like to like kind of just imagine it's like, okay, so she really drinks hard here, but in here she's just like a little quick boop and then on with the business.
Well, yeah,
Like
'cause-
it-
'cause
like
she can't,
certain
'cause
liquors-
the one that's in the book, she can't drink out of that one all the time.
Right.
That was,
That was
there
the
only
other-
for emergencies.
That was the other thing. Like this girl loved her. It was sherry. Is sherry rum or scotch?
not
or
sure.
something?
Sherry's a
just
type
kept
of
saying
that. I'm not
fortified
an
wine,
alcoholic.
usually used
Okay.
for cooking.
Okay. Well, yeah,
It's
she
a good
had.
thing I am an alcoholic. So
So she drinks sherry, but the funny thing about it was like when she was brushing her teeth, she even rinsed with it. I'm like,
Can't taste
No,
that cannot taste
that-
good.
I will
can't
admit,
be good
I have
for your
done that
teeth.
before. When you have to get ready for a job interview, but you're out of mouthwash, so you use vodka.
But like after brushing your teeth, because like even drinking orange juice after brushing your teeth is awful. So what's it like drinking alcohol after you
It's
brush your teeth?
terrible.
It's like,
It is terrible.
It's absolutely terrible.
So they go
So-
to the party, and this
Yes.
is where ho 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 shit happens, and it's one of my favorite lines ever. This guy is just such like he's dressed up as Santa, and the kids are on his lap, and he's like, "Oh, this piece of shit," and she's like, "You need to watch your fucking mouth."
Yeah.
The kids are just having a good time; they don't care.
He looks at one of the kids. It's like Santa's being naughty, isn't he? And it's like, yeah, yep. And then next thing,
Oh fuck!
fuck.
Oh, it's great.
And then of
What
course,
do you want, a little
and
boy?
of course, we continue to see Barb spiraling. She drinks a lot.
And I would like to. I know this happens later, but I just want to bring it up now. Like maybe you do the whole party as like one topic of discussion, but later she's on the phone with somebody, and she's literally giving a kid like shots of whatever she's drinking out of.
Oh, really?
And the
I
kid
can't
is
even remember that.
the kid isn't even going like bleh. He's
Oh,
taking the shot.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
"Damn,
yeah,
kid."
Yeah.
Okay, now I remember.
It's like
yeah.
barely sipping it.
Dude, I was
I mean,
impressed.
yeah, sipping it either way. It was like, wow, that kid's.
So
great.
I think
I
That
love
kid's
this
hardcore.
world. The 70s are great. Just give alcohol to kids.
Everyone's
Something
a
that
party
is worth
beast.
mentioning about
except-
Barb is I could be wrong, but I think it's implied. Like, there's one thing this movie does right. It's a lot of subtle character stuff.
Mhm.
Like, I think it's implied that Barb is a lesbian and she's in a relationship with one of the other girls.
I noticed a bit of that too.
I didn't.
Yeah.
And now
Because
I'm
at the very
I'll have to
beginning,
look
at the
that.
party, there's a scene where Barb, she's kind of got her arm on the wall and she's kind of blocking off another one of the girls. But not in a creepy way. She's obviously into it too. And there's a scene later on in the movie where you see Barb is reading a girly magazine,
Okay.
like a Playboy or something.
I could so see them like trying to do, because like at that time it was
in
probably
the
like,
70s, it's totally
I
possible.
was gonna say this
Yeah.
movie's like weirdly progressive because we have like the
Yeah.
main character later is all
See?
like, I'm
See-
having a ball.
See how this movie carries over so
Oh,
well.
and we're gonna get to and now let's get to them because the next scene is we get to meet Jess and her boyfriend
It's
Peter.
gonna be so hard to remember her name. Like, just like what even? What kind of a name?
What's
is
an easy way to remember Jess?
that? I don't know.
Gosh darn it. I'm drawing blanks. Rod,
So
help me.
She's
See, you just got, well, it's really easy because obviously we have our friend Jesse, so we'll just draw comparisons. Like they
Oh,
both
yeah,
have
that
brown
Jesse.
hair, they both
Oh,
have
yeah.
an abortion.
Are you talking about the one that hates or loves the Psycho remake?
exactly.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
I want to be very clear, audience. That isn't me.
so we're met with an angry Peter.
Angry Peter.
The angriest of names.
The angry because Jess just informed him that she's pregnant and she's not planning on
And
keeping
he's
the
all
baby.
like, "Don't you know what's happening tonight?" And she's like, "Yeah, dude. I wasn't even gonna tell you, but."
Well, and the thing,
But fuck you.
How could you be so selfish?
and a little backstory on this. Was it Roe vs. Wade was actually passed a year before this
Oh,
movie.
nice.
So it was probably one of those ones where it's like, it was in the media, the newspaper, so they kind of incorporated it probably in this movie for that.
Also,
So-
is Jess British?
Yes.
She is. She
Okay,
is. From
is she supposed
England.
to be, or is she
Jesse's
supposed
No,
to trying?
that's her. Or I don't know if she's supposed to be in the movie, but I know she is in real life.
I was
That's
gonna
her
say that's
citizenship.
one of those things where it's like if you want, there's nothing that says she isn't British in the movie, so you can just say,
Yeah,
oh,
but
she's foreign,
sometimes her
But
voice is
Jesse,
really weird, so I don't know if she was trying to speak with an American accent for the role or something.
I mean,
Jess- Where are you born, Jesse?
Lancaster.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I guess he is British.
I
You're
try
right,
to
Sydney.
hide it, but
See her voice, like the way she spoke in this movie is like the way she spoke in the miniseries of It.
Oh really?
Like so, I hear like the same voice. So
Oh,
it literally might be just her voice. Like that's
if
how
we're
she
making
talks.
if we're making this much fun of Jesse for a character being named Jess, I really don't want to watch Scream anymore.
let's do it. Oh no, this is gonna happen.
But
It can happen anytime any of our names are
What's
here.
your favorite
But to
scary
be fair,
movie, Sydney?
I totally love her voice though. I do love her.
I was gonna say I actually like
I love it too.
No, it's good. It's good, but
Yeah,
there's like
yeah.
sometimes you
Don't
can
get
hear
us
it more than
wrong,
other times,
audience.
so.
We love the voice dearly. We're just
Also,
I
what's her
love
name?
accents. I'm a sucker for them.
What's her name?
Olivia. I think it's. Oh wait,
Olivia.
Olivia Hussey.
Hussey. I'm pretty sure it's Hussey. I'm pretty sure I've heard it said
Yeah.
Hussey.
Yes, but isn't hussy like a bad thing you say
A
to
hussy,
someone? Like
a hussy is a way of saying what is it? Like a foul woman.
like
Yep,
a
British
yes.
actress. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure and not have the audience be like, actually, she's.
Is it
Yeah, I knew she was.
Jose? Jose?
That's
I don't
French.
know.
Jose.
Jose?
I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure I've
hung
heard
up
it
on really
said
weird things.
before.
I know
It's
we
said
are.
by people.
Olivia, we're
Merry
sorry.
Christmas, everybody out there. While we keep
Merry-
going through this.
Merry Christmas. We're butchering last names.
Merry Christmas. Now I have a machine
Merry
gun.
Christmas.
Oh.
You filthy animal. All right, so
Just quote all the movies.
what happens after this, guys? Help me out.
What was the last
What
thing we
happened?
talked about?
The
We're-
pregnant.
This is the first thing that sets up that Peter's kind of like he's
A
prone
douche?
to anger, but in this situation, it's kind of like sensible that he would be like not super cool with like, oh well, aren't we going to talk about this? And she's
Yes.
like, nope.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, we're talking later, and she's like, yeah, man, if it goes-
And we're not going to get into like where we stand because we don't want to be political on this
let's
show or
make it a
anything.
guessing game.
Yeah, no. So mainly,
Sorry,
like,
what
but
were you
the
just
thing
talking
is,
about? I think I missed something.
Abortions.
Yes.
about the abortions,
Abortion.
Okay.
because like like it can be very sticky and a debatable situation. So
I will
but me-
admit
Especially
that
if you don't clean
the
it up,
dynamic they go for in this movie is a lot different than what most movies go for. Even
And I
modern
really
movies.
love that.
Yeah.
and
where
I feel like
where the woman is the one wanting the abortion and the man in the relationship is like, no, I want a baby, which just speaking from a strictly movie standpoint isn't something you see a whole lot. So
Nope.
no.
I'm,
And
Right.
this probably has to be one of the first ones.
I'm
which,
really
to be
glad.
completely
And I think
honest,
that's
is
why they
actually a
did
more
it.
interesting story dynamic, if you ask me.
I feel like that's kind of what they were going for because, like I said, it was a year after the bill was passed or whatever, and I think what they were saying is, but what happens if the man wants to keep it? And I think
Yeah,
they
that's-
wanted to kind of touch on that subject.
That's exactly
know.
what I mean, though. It's like it's more
Yeah.
interesting from a story perspective. That
Mm,
way,
it is. It really is.
Yeah,
So-
and this was like one of the main reasons I think this movie holds up so well is because this is such an interesting topic
That's still
And
like
that's
it's
still heavy to this
today.
day.
Well, okay, so the next scene is Mr. Harrison accompanies Barb and one of the other girls to report that Claire's missing.
Phil.
Phil.
I
That's
just
it.
know it because they scream it a lot.
That's it. Phil.
And this is where we were introduced to what is his name,
Or
Nestor?
Phyllis or whatever.
It's Phyllis. It's short for
Yeah,
Phyllis.
it's Phyllis, yeah.
But who's the cop dude, Nestor?
Mr.
Nesquik.
something McIntosh.
No.
He's
No,
not
it's not right.
he's not important to remember. Let's just call
Yes,
him
he is. He's amazing.
No, let's call him Deputy Doofus because
Okay,
that's
Deputy
what he is.
Doofus.
Oh, Nash.
Nash.
Nash-
Officer Nash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nash.
So yeah, they go up to Nash and
Okay.
he's like, "Look, you can sign this report, but like honestly, she's probably just boning some dude in a cabin somewhere." And the father's like, "Yes, thank you. That was
Excuse
very
me.
helpful."
Thank you. Right in front of the father.
He's so great. I love him. I love everyone in this.
Well,
And
again,
then,
because again, with subverting with tropes, but at the same time subverting. I guess it's not. It's weird saying it's subverted tropes because it invented them at the same time. But it's like it's taking your typical character of the shitty policeman and making it
Yeah.
just one person instead of being like, oh, cops are completely useless.
Yeah,
It's more
'cause the
like
other
look how much
cops in
one
this-
person can gum up the works.
the other cops in this are fine, but he just like fucks everything up. Yes, we
Yeah.
are, Liam.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wrote down on scratch paper. I'm pretty sure I'm going to hell.
Yep. We're still stuck on it. Anywho, the father and Phil leave, but Barb stays behind.
which is
No,
comic
no, a
gold.
filly's a young horse,
I
Jesse.
will stab you in the face. What does he say? He asks for an address, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Fellatio,
Fellatio.
6088 something," and he's just like,
he's like-
obviously never heard the word before.
Yeah, and the funny thing was
which
like
comes up later.
he feels like fellatio, like he's thinking in his head like, is
What
this
could it
something new?
mean?
Is this something new? And then she goes, it's PE. and then whatever.
Oh,
She's
Effie.
yeah, Effie. That's
Ron,
it.
it starts with an F.
It's the name of the sorority.
Oh, Effie. Oh, it was Effie. That's right.
Fellatio Beta Kappa, or something.
Something. Okay.
So yeah, and then
But,
they all leave.
They all leave.
And what happens next?
Let's see. Oh, that's when they learn also about another local girl named Janice that seemingly
Oh,
vanished walking home from school.
Well, okay, wait. Before
that
that,
was okay.
Jess goes to like the hockey rink,
Uh-huh.
and we get our Friday the 13th reference before that was a thing. And this is clearly Amanda. What was her name? Claire's
yeah.
boyfriend, because
Oh, yeah.
he's the first one that she goes to, and
Uh-huh.
he asks. I mean, she tells him, "It's like, have you seen her?" And he's like, "No." And what are the cops doing anything? And she's like, "No, they won't lift a finger." And he's like, "What?" And then he storms into the office with his rad fur coat.
Yes.
That wears the whole movie. And that's when we hear about the other girl that's missing. And
Oh, yeah.
he immediately calls Nash like a piece of dumb shit, and then he goes over to the like actual good cop and is like, it's clear they know each
John
yeah.
Saxon. He walks
John
right up to John
Saxon.
Saxon's character.
who clearly knows what he's doing because
Exactly.
he's John Saxon.
Exactly.
He's fought Freddy Krueger. He can take this. But yeah, and that's a whole great
And he
scene.
was like,
If he was
Nancy.
any younger, he'd be Johnny Cage fighting Shao Kahn.
So yes, as Ron said, another girl's missing, so we have that to worry about. And then I think people go back to the
Yeah, I think this is the part where we get drunken Barb yelling at
father.
talking about what turtles having sex for 3 days or something.
3 days. I know because I watched it.
No, because I was like, man, that must have been a boring 3 days straight.
Well, no, and then she says, "But I didn't watch them the whole time. I went
yeah.
over to the zebras, and they only lasted 30 seconds. What losers!"
He goes, I'm good if I get 3 minutes.
Barb is my favorite.
Yeah. Oh my
Okay,
gosh. So
I've seen other podcasts talk about this where it was like a thing in like back in the old like 80s and before.
I love how you
Back
say
in the
olden
olden
days.
days.
Olden days
in
of
the
the
old- back in
Back in
70s.
medieval times.
With the magic lantern shows and
just-
everything.
You just really upset all of the parents out there.
So
You mean
but-
you?
I wasn't born. I was born in '81, man.
Sorry, I'm being mean. My bad.
Before like the 90s, they would like really put effort into side characters to make them all have like big vibrant personalities and be super memorable, and that's not as much of a thing anymore. Like
No, it's
there are so
unfortunate,
many
but
side
it's not.
characters that I don't remember from movies anymore, but like this one, I
Yeah,
love them all.
and see, and I think that's very true because like even with the remake one, it's like you hone in on the one character and you want her to survive.
Well, and
kind
then
of
well, the
thing.
problem.
But
problem
this,
isn't
you want
just
them
that
all
they're
to
not
survive because you
focused
love
on.
them. Yeah.
See, the problem isn't just that like the five characters aren't focused on; it's that they're boiled down to stereotypes and
Oh yeah, that's true.
what's
too.
the other word I'm looking for? Stereotypes and cliches.
Cliches,
So there's
yeah.
nothing interesting about them.
That's the interesting thing because in this one, they're also stereotypes and cliches, but they're like acted and portrayed in such a way where you can tell that there's more to them than that you're just not
Yes.
seeing.
Yeah, there's heart in each character. and
It's like you could imagine them. They have their own stories that are going on.
And
They're
again,
just getting
and it's like
murdered,
it's
so-
like what
Exactly.
I said about Barb earlier. Like, yeah, sure. Like on the surface, she seems like a drunken mess. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Not sadistic. Confrontational.
Yeah, because she like really drove into Claire before she got.
But like I
murdered.
said, at the same time, it's also implied that she's a closeted homosexual. Maybe that's starting to eat at her.
And well, I mean, it's also kind of clear that, like, I at least think that she's drinking like a super lot now because she is like worried about Claire, even though she's not saying as much.
Not
out
just
loud.
worried about Claire, because in the scene where she is drinking, for some reason she's worried that everyone blames her. So she
Yeah,
obviously
because-
also has
so-
some sort of guilt issues as well.
Well, I was gonna say, obviously that means she's blaming herself. She's like, if
So-
anything happened to her, it is my fault.
So pretty much they put her to bed. Like
yeah,
she's
she's
drinking.
had enough.
Yeah, she's had enough. And then so Mr. Harrison, Chris, Jess, Phyllis go to the search party.
Before that,
Oh, of course
I
we're doing
think
this.
it cuts. I think it cuts to Peter at his recital because.
Oh,
they
yeah,
were
yeah,
having-
yeah.
When Jess was talking to
I thought
him,
that came later.
They
I'm
were
sorry.
at a whatever, but.
Go ahead and tell about Peter.
So yeah, he was like, "Oh, don't you know what I have to do tonight?" And what he was referring to was this recital that he obviously like practiced for. And there was three
Yes.
of the most fucking posh-looking like college professors I've ever
Yes.
seen in their robes. Like, yes, please.
guys are obviously
all of
music
them with bald
professors.
spots going.
And I will say,
Quarge."
Peter looked so like distressed.
Have you
like,
ever seen piano players?
No,
They
but
get,
this-
like, really intense.
but I feel like I feel like maybe this was like the more in depth of his character.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely working through things.
Because for the audience, for what we're seeing is like he's struggling through all this. Like,
Oh, he's not just struggling; he's fucking it up real bad.
Yeah.
He's hitting
Well,
wrong
that
notes. He's playing
yeah.
out a key. He's
Yeah,
fucking
and
up
then-
real bad.
See, that's funny because it still sounded good to me when I was like,
Oh
damn.
no, he was fucking that shit up. Terrible.
No, he was fucking it
Well,
up.
okay, that's
I didn't hear it the first time until I watched it yesterday before talking about the show or before talking about this movie. That's when I started hearing how bad it was.
But the thing I love about this is then we go and do other stuff for a little bit, and then when we come back, it's actually, first of all, it's a really good transition where it's like you hear the sound before you hear what it's doing, and when it cuts to him, he's like using one of those like really heavy
Music stands.
Music stands, yeah.
and he's smashing the piano apart
Yeah.
without a word. And in a modern horror movie, it would be like, "Oh, they didn't take me. Oh, I messed up because of this."
angry.
Where-
Look how
where-
We
angry
didn't need
I
that
am.
dialogue.
Yeah,
We
you
just
know-
we knew
you know exactly
You can't
what-
tell how angry I am if I don't tell you.
Like
Exactly.
sticks his head out the window. I'm mad at my girlfriend.
But the thing I really love about the scene is that as he's like smashing the piano, like every time he hits it, there's like the sound that would happen if you hit like the insides
Hit a
of the
piano.
piano, all the strings. And
Yeah.
if you notice, the almost entire soundtrack of this movie is that noise that's being
Oh
made
shit!
right there.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
notice
Like-
that part.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
pretty
notice
good.
that either.
Pretty
That's
much every
really
time
good,
there's
actually.
any sort of score, it sounds like that, like a bunch of piano strings being strummed
Oh, that's
or being
cool.
hit.
Or
And
hit.
But I
That's-
adore
really
cool
cool.
music stuff like that. Like once
Like,
we
we're
get
not
to
gonna-
talking, once we get to talking about Psycho 2, I'll tell you all
yeah.
the amazing stuff they do with the score on that. Hey, the Psycho sequels are actually really good.
Oh no, I agree.
No, I like him.
I
They're-
agree about 2 and 3.
Yeah, I'm about to
2 and
say.
3. And then the made-for-TV 4 is fine but weird. But whatever.
So then, as Ron was saying, the search party begins.
Okay, yeah, and then what do they just stumble on? They stumble on. Do they stumble on something?
When this party starts,
They find.
and then it cuts to something for a while, and then it cuts back to them. I don't remember what it cuts to for a while.
I think it
Well,
cuts to
oh, it cuts to
Phyllis
the.
and Jess hanging out in the kitchen.
Oh, that's right. Like
Because then the
talking
search
about
party
shit.
folk come by.
Oh no, that actually happens much later. That
Yeah,
happens
that
like
happens-
20 minutes
that does
before the
happen
ending.
Okay, I was thinking it was what was it, Mrs. Max? She's going back
I
to
think
the
it's her
house.
dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's
okay,
going back to
yeah.
the house and she's packing because she's going to visit her sister,
Mm-hmm.
and so she hears something up in the attic.
Yep, and she thinks it's the kitty.
She thinks, yeah.
And it's not the kitty.
Everybody thinks it's the cat, and then we all find out that cat leads you to death. See,
Yeah,
cat
just-
equals death.
That's my kitty. I don't care.
I know you would.
She
Sid.
climbs up into the
It's
attic
the
and is
best.
and is on this like rickety ass ladder, and she's looking around and she's like, "Oh, I need to fucking clean this place." But then she sees Claire's body, and she's like, "Oh shit!" And then for some reason she just because I think she knows deep down that like, "Oh, he's behind me, isn't he?" So he like slowly turns around, and before she saw Claire, you see the killer is just like furiously holding on to
just
like
holding angrily.
a giant hook thing, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm so ready to kill this bitch, but I have to let her see me because that's gonna be hilarious." And so yeah, she turns around and he just like bam, hook face, pulls her up, and then you just hear screaming and strangulation, and it's a good
Well,
time.
and
You
all you get is an eye. You always
It
get
is-
the eye.
Hold on. It is worth mentioning that while right before this happens, you see her packing to go somewhere. She says she's going to her sister's house.
Yep.
And while she's packing, the cab pulls up, but she keeps telling him, "Hold on a minute, I hear you," and then she dies.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's the explanation for why no one looks for her, because they all think she's out of town by this point.
And then you like even see the taxi guy like comes up and knocks on the door after she's been murdered, and is like, "Is anybody there?" Nope. Okay, fine. Fuck you.
Did we say that she did see the body?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know because that was pivotal.
So now
Yeah.
there are 2 bodies in the
You know,
attic.
you know
The
the thing
tool.
that kind of bugs me with this kill? I mean, it's all cool and all, but like if this movie was like PG, the exact same thing would happen, only it's in Home Alone or Paul Blart. And it wouldn't kill the person, it
I
would
would
knock them
kind of
out.
defend this because that's the sticky thing where it's like I bash PG-13 horror movies for not showing enough blood and gore, but then I super love kills that are like left to your imagination.
That are effective,
It's this
yeah.
weird tight line
And
you
that-
have to
well,
walk.
see, and that's why I like the remake a little bit is because they could have done that whole PG-13 sort of movie, but they went for the R. Like it was finally like it was like, oh yeah, we finally getting the R movies back around that time, and of course they still throw out the PG-13.
I remember a lot of CG blood though.
Oh, there's a lot of good blood in there.
Okay.
No, it's actual blood, no CG.
Okay, but So yeah, she gets murdered, and then we cut back to the park where everyone's like on the search party, but you can tell a lot of people kind of like fell back and were like huddling around the burning barrels, and we're just like, it's super cold.
It's fucking cold
then-
out there.
But then you cut to a lady who's all like, ee! And then you cut to the lady who was looking for her
Okay.
daughter, who's all like, oh my god, ee! And then the cop tries to hold her back and is like, no, you need to stay here. And she's like, fuck y'all. And then you see the dad who was all like, oh, I need to look at this, and
then
because
goes,
it could be mine.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry. When she died or whatever, we get another obscene phone call.
Yep.
Because Jess
Oh,
got
yeah.
that. Because that's important. Because the thing
After
that
every kill.
death, we get a phone call.
Yep.
And a lot of times, like it
They
keeps
get more
giving,
intense
yeah,
every
and
time.
it gives us little like pieces like of things.
Because the first time he really just uses his voice,
Yeah.
and as it goes on, like more and more voices are getting used, and
Yeah.
words become clearer.
And he's like he'll say he yells, what was it, Agnes, and he says like other weird things, and then you could hear like a female sort of voice, and then it goes back to a man. So it's either like a bunch of people or it's
And props
One-
to this movie, the phone calls are super creepy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
it
yeah, phone
is.
calls are great.
Dude.
My
Dude,
favorite
the whole
pho-
time I felt very uncomfortable when I heard them.
Exactly. My favorite phone call was the second one. Like as soon as Barb tells him to like f off, he just says in a calm voice, "I'm going to kill you," and then
Oh,
like
see, and
she
oh,
hangs up,
I'm
and
glad
it's
you brought
fucking
that up.
scary.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's the funny thing about like the time frames. If that would happen today, if I called the cops and said, "Hey, I have to report someone like threatened me over the phone. I'm getting these phone calls, and they even threatened my life. They said kill." Like it would be instant. Like they would jump in gear a little
That's
bit.
why modern horror movies
Yeah.
have this inevitable problem
Yeah.
that they all have to solve,
Yeah.
where they're just like, and
And-
how do we get rid of the phone?
And that's the thing with this time. It's probably accurate because they were always like saying, "Oh, we're busy. We have so many people doing this. Like we'll
will
get
say
back
that
to
later
you."
Which
on,
is
I
weird because
feel
you're
like-
completely right, Jesse. And I think that's why we never see slashers that take place in cities and towns anymore.
Uh-huh.
Because they always have to take place
Jason
in the
Takes
boonies, so you
Manhattan.
can have it.
Hello.
Well, no, I'm talking about horror, the modern day movies.
Oh,
Because
no,
like
just-
they only take place in the boonies, so like you always have a scene where a character looks at their phone and goes, "Ugh, no service."
It's
Yeah.
like this thing that like it's really weird because like no other genre has this sort of problem where it's like an invention was made and now every single one of our plots is like kneecapped.
That's
Yes.
and that takes a really good writing. It's because like you got to think, okay, how can they do this? Okay, well we cut their electricity. Well, they have cell phones or whatever, and so like okay, now we got to figure out. Yeah, let's throw them out in the boonies. Kind of like
there
how
was
Sid said.
there was one movie I really liked that I just saw recently came out. Like you'll know which one I'm talking about. Where the killer just like his first actions are to get the phones, and then he just like puts them all in like
But
his
see-
bag.
I'd say even that is kind of like okay. I won't say about that movie if it's a problem in that movie, but I say
what movie
ne-
is this?
Oh, Terrifier.
Oh yeah.
But now there's this kind of inverse problem where it's just like every single horror movie, you're like waiting for that scene. There's like no shock to it anymore. Where it's just
My
like, yep, get rid
my
of the
favorite
phone.
one, my favorite one isn't from a horror movie, but it's actually from a video game. In Far Cry 4, there's a great scene where like dispatch, like basically the 911 operator is talking to you, and he's like, "Who are you okay? Are you okay? What's going on?" And then for those of you who don't know, the game's about an evil cult. When the cult
that's
leader picks
Far
up
Cry
the phone, he says something like, "It's okay, Phyllis. It's all taken care of now." And you can hear the 911 operator say, "Yes, my savior.
Oh, that's
Show
really
the sinners
good.
what's wrong." And it's this great little scene where it's like, oh, because the only time that it makes sense is when the cops are in on it too.
I was gonna say that would work so well in a movie to have someone call the cops and just the cop just be like, "Lol, you're gonna die."
It works really great when you talk about Texas Chainsaw, especially.
Oh yes,
Like-
yes, yeah, that's a good one. Like the remake, that was their excuse in the remake
Yep.
too.
I do like the
Yeah.
remake.
The remake's not perfect, but Arlie Ermy is.
Oh fuck yeah!
He is, definitely is.
So back to the park. I don't think I ever finished what happened there.
No.
Everyone's going, "Ee!" And then it shows the father and the mother of the other child like looking down. And what I love about the scene is you don't see what they find, but you know they find her daughter and like killed.
It's pretty much a Janice's disfigured body,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean they don't show it. So.
Yeah, that's they. I think someone said that it was disfigured,
Yeah.
like or whatever. I heard.
Yeah,
someone-
Well, I mean, disfigured or
Mutilated or
not, the
something.
mom's gonna have a bad.
yeah,
time.
it's
Yeah.
a very bad day for those parents. No one should ever have to bury their
But
But
kids.
you
you're-
can almost see a weird. I don't want to say sigh of relief on the dad, but he's all like, "Oh, it wasn't her."
Yeah, and that's sad. But
Oh yeah.
as a parent, I could get what that oh my god, at least it wasn't Claire, or something.
So then I think Peter visits Jess at the house.
Yes, he surprises her.
And he's all like, "Hey, let's get married." And she's like, "That is like the opposite of the thing I want to do."
He's pretty much saying, "Yeah, I'm quitting this music. I'm pretty much destroying and quitting my dreams, just and want to be a family."
So now you quit all your dreams and come with me and let's have
Exactly,
babies.
like-
and she's like, "Fuck no."
Which I think this is awesome because, because you have him trying to bargain with her because, he's powerless because, of course,
He's destroyed his own power.
Yeah, and so and it is a different take, kind of like how Sid said earlier. It was a different take because now it's like reversed, and it's not the man trying to convince the woman to abort. It's the woman who's like, I'm going to abort.
And he doesn't take it well. He says, "Oh, you're gonna regret this."
Yeah, and so and at this point, we start to maybe he's the killer.
I want to talk about this at the end.
and so at this point, he's a suspect. He's our suspect.
Yep.
And
Is he-
so
by this point, you can already tell he might be a little.
Unhinged.
unhinged.
Yeah.
And after seeing him destroy the piano, sweating,
And he also broke into this house, by the way.
Yeah.
He didn't arrive through the front door.
Oh.
He appears behind her and
And-
it's on the phone
Not
call.
just behind her. He's like, oh, never mind. What I'm talking about is way later. So
When we saw Miss Mac died, we got to see an outline of a man who
manly man.
a manly man, pretty much. He had
You could tell he was wearing sweater.
well, he had longer hair, and you could definitely tell it was a man, and you could see his eye. That's all you could see.
Very intense.
So it was pretty much the same build of Peter. So it's kind of like they're really trying to get us to think this.
Well, it's
stay tuned to see if he is.
I always think there were two builds. I always think of any movie or show from 70s, and that's the slim sweater, long haired, or
Yes, we already said Billy, didn't we?
afro, or the curly hair.
Yeah.
It
It was the whole.
you either get Greatest American Hero or Ashton Kutcher. in
I would
that
say,
society show.
around that,
Oh, yeah.
and around this time, I think what was real big was also the Welcome Back Kotter. The long.
no, I actually
Puffy
don't know
hair.
what that is.
You don't know John Travolta and Welcome Back Kotter?
Oh,
and stuff?
okay. You had to say John Travolta. I thought you were talking about some
There you are.
70s sitcom
Can
for
I-
a second.
It is. It really is a 70s sitcom.
Sorry, you were about to
The
say?
thing I wanted to bring up now was that we talked about how this movie
Mm-hmm.
invents tropes. One of the tropes it invents, and I think does better than most other horror movies, is I actually really like the misdirect red herring in this one.
Oh, yeah.
I think it works
Oh, yeah.
really well.
Well, I
either the
always
plot-
love a good red herring, but it's never really handled that well.
Yeah, it's usually done terribly.
I don't
And
even
this
want
one-
to say these days, just historically speaking, it's so easy
Oh, yeah.
to see a red
I was gonna
herring and
say,
go,
like,
that's
this
a
is-
red herring.
This is the only one I can think of quickly that I'm like, oh, I actually liked that. That was part of the plot, and rather just not dragging everything
Well,
down.
it's like they it felt like they actually put time and effort into this
Well,
one.
and it matters to the characters. It's not like
Exactly.
he's being a red herring for no reason. There's
Yeah.
reason behind what's happening.
It's not
it's
just there's a creepy old guy that lives next door. I bet he's
Exactly.
the one responsible.
Or a character who's being an asshole, as part of the friend group for literally no reason.
Yeah.
And
Like,
just feels like a
Who
throwaway
keeps
line or
inviting this
something like
person?
that. Yeah.
All right, so so after Jess of course refuses the proposal.
Yes.
She's not down for that. And then Peter leaves in an emotional state. And then we get and then we get I think John Saxon's character arrives to bug the phone. Is that right? Is that
we need to talk about how that happens because
okay.
the phone call happens and she calls the Nash and is all like, I'm getting lewd phone calls, and he's like, look, miss, we have a lot of busy shit going on. A
And
girl
that's-
just got murder-rated.
Murder
Prove it yourself. And
See,
she's
and
like,
that's
fuck you.
and that's literally I hate to say it, but I think that especially that time, that's how they would handle it. Prank
is.
calls were because prank calls even when I was a kid through the early '90s, no one ever took it serious.
But then
You know?
I love how John Saxon deals with it because they get back to the what do you call it, and
The
he
station?
hears this. Some of the other characters hear this, and he goes, "So, a friend from the house where the missing girl is from called you about lewd phone calls, and you didn't think that was important." And he's just like, "I don't fucking know, man."
I don't know.
And so then John Saxon and team goes to.
What do I look like, a cop?
And I think it was at this when he did we say that she got another phone call around this time?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this was the phone call where like there's a tidbit of you hear the person on the phone mentioned something that they talked about when he was proposing a marriage to her.
Oh yeah. He brings up that
he like.
I don't remember, but he does bring
So-
up words that Peter used.
when she first talks about abortion with her boyfriend, he says something like, "You can't just get it removed like a wart."
Oh, Wart. That's
Right,
it.
yeah,
Yes.
that's what it
Boom.
says.
There it is.
Oh, and it's so good.
Thank you,
Like, it's a
Sid.
really good misdirect. Continuing on with the cop scene, though, he and this other cop are, like, dealing with Nash, and I think that's when they, like, "Oh, what's the address for this, miss?" And, like, Nash brings up the little paper, and they both look at it, and, like, the other cop is just starting to, like, fucking laugh and lose
That
it,
cop,
and then you...
that cop
I
is my
love that
favorite
cop.
character.
I know.
So much.
and then
And
you
he
even-
doesn't even have a name. And the credits, he's just called Laughing Cop, played by
Like,
Mr. John Reuter, not Ritter.
I love him because that's such a genuine reaction, but I even love John Saxon because even though like serious shit's going down, even he is like chuckling to himself as he gets up and is like,
He's like,
"Nash, what do you
what
think
is
this is?"
He's like,
And he's like, "Oh, the address that she gave me," and he's
it's
like,
like fellatio. Right?
I get it. It's a perverted thing.
and,
Yeah, it's like they're laughing at him. He obviously doesn't get it. He's like, "Oh, I get it. It's something dirty, isn't it?" And that makes
and then
Laughing
the
Cop
laughing
laugh
cop
even
just
harder.
loses it. Oh, it's probably one of my favorite scenes.
Well, this isn't the scene that I even think is the funniest. The funniest scene with him happens later on, which we'll get to.
So, oh yeah, that's it. I forgot about that. So they go over to the house and they
I
start.
didn't even hear what it seemed. But
No,
go
it's
ahead,
fine.
keep going.
They start talking about, "Oh, so we're gonna book the phone. Is anyone else here?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, Barb is here. She's upstairs sleeping off the drunk." And he's like, "By any chance, is she the one that came to the office earlier?" And she's like, "Yep." And he's like, "Yeah, fellatio." So they're walking through trying to figure out things. He asks if Claire like was drinking, and they both kind of chuckle and go no because that's obviously not the type of girl Claire was. And you just get a bit of this. Oh, okay. So this happens earlier because the cops get there when Peter storms the fuck out.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah,
Because
yes.
Because John Saxon notices that. He's all like,
See
angry
that?
boyfriend.
See that's what I was gonna say. Is like that's when he storms out. That's when they came to bug the phone. So we just missed the
Right.
part about the whole like.
We get to everything
Yeah,
eventually.
we do.
So the one cop explains that it's like, okay, I bugged the phone, and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to need to talk to him for a long time in order for this trace to work. And I think I love about this movie is you see how the trace works. I don't remember a movie ever showing you how that happens before.
I did
They,
like
they
that.
usually just have some person eating a bagel, typing
Was
on
it
his
someone like
laptop
sitting at a
in the
computer?
90s.
Which, admittedly, it's how it would be today. Some guy at the phone company would just look at a computer, he's like, "All right, this is connecting to that. That's fine." But
I
back
like
then,
it
they
better
literally
back
had
then,
to trace the call.
Because that's why it took so long because like you have these stacks and stacks of servers, and he's like running through all of them trying to see which one's on.
Literally plugging a phone into other people's phone lines to hear what they're saying.
I love the 70s. So they leave.
it was
and
cool
John
that they did
Saxon points out that like, look out this curtain. There's a cop car right there. He's gonna be watching over you. You're gonna be totally safe because if we know one thing in horror movies, cops are really good against serial killers.
That's
Yes.
true.
They never fail.
They're the best.
Never.
That's usually my serial killer plan. I just go to like the nearest cops and just hide around them, just all the time.
Are you trying to tell us you're a serial killer?
What?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is get excited for Muckman 2 Electric
Oh.
Boogaloo.
I'm not saying I'm a serial
Hell.
killer. I'm just saying I know how to deal with bugs.
I just say I know what time your door's unlocked. Ron.
But yeah, well, talk about distractions. I think this is the time where like the carolers show up, right?
Before you do that, can I make fun of their Christmas tree?
Yes.
Because
Go
it's
ahead.
covered in cobwebs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this Halloween Christmas? And if so, I love it. But
I
Well,
did
it's
like,
like-
I did like the tree because it is like what was it like growing up and watching horror movies, it was visual, like if you ever saw a tree like that, you'd be like, oh, that's like the one on Black Christmas. So I think it was probably maybe like their version of snow tinsel.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's meant to be like icicles
Yeah.
and stuff.
Because they,
It just
back,
looks like
because back then they used to tinsel the hell out of trees. So they probably invented like some snow tinsel or
Don't
something.
they use weapon for tinsel though?
I think so. I don't know.
But no, tinsel's just like a flashy like foil wrapping kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of cats and tinsel, so
Oh
one
my
time
gosh.
my family house cat
Uh-huh.
ate some tinsel,
Uh-huh.
and then like when she was pooping it out, she got so scared because this tinsel didn't fully digest, so it was just hanging between her legs. She had no idea what was going on, so she ran around the living room with it still in
And
her legs.
you had to pull the string.
No, my stepdad did. I was at school.
So Ron, it's not
fucked up.
the carolers.
That's fucked up. What?
Because before the carolers,
Oh, yeah.
I forgot her name.
Jess.
But,
Barb.
Barb.
Barb
Phyllis.
starts like freaking out because you saw a POV of the killer coming into her room and like standing over her and looking at all of her crystal stuff, and she starts screaming. But then when Jess runs up to like find her, she's just having a nightmare, and she like calms her down and like says, "Oh, it's all okay. It was just a dream." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm not that lucky to get a stranger in my bedroom in real life." And I was like, "Oh, Barb."
No,
I was thinking, because
Barb.
I kept thinking like the carolers distracted Jess while the killer went into Barb's room.
They do.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what
It's
okay.
just this happens first.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
No, you're
then she goes down, and then she sees the carolers at the window. She goes out and starts listening to them, and as they're singing, then the killer was always. I think the implication is the killer was always in the room though, while Jess was.
He
up there trying to
either
calm
hid
down.
in the closet or under the bed or something.
Right. And so he comes back out, grabs one of her crystal unicorns, and starts stabbing her. And she wakes up and starts screaming. And then I like the way it's shot because, like, you see, you don't see the blood clearly, but you see it like refracting off one of the other crystal things she has.
Yeah.
I like that.
Which
so-
which is like which is the kill I was talking about earlier. That is about on par with the bag kill.
Uh-huh.
But every other thing
That
is
they pay homage to the remake. They use that crystal unicorn in Another Death scene in that one.
So,
I actually really like this kill. In this
Oh,
one.
yeah,
like
it's-
especially how the shadow hits Billy,
Uh-huh.
so you only see his eye.
oh yeah. I
But
love-
see-
I
but
actually
see-
love the next two kills too. So
And it sucks because like you love Barb. We all loved Barb.
oh,
She
Barb's
was
the
definitely
best.
I like
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, Barb was great.
And then just like Miss Mac, you know,
This
I
is-
loved her, and she dies. Like
This
so,
is
all
my
these
thing with horror
characters,
movies.
these characters
They're
are so
almost always better when the characters aren't irredeemable, annoying pieces of shit.
yeah,
Yes.
that I want to watch
exactly. Like you don't want these characters to die.
because that's not horrific. That's just
Yes.
like a gore show, and I like a good gore show. But
Yep.
if I want a horror movie, I want to like give a shit.
Yep.
Yes.
So they're singing, but then some lady comes up and is all like, "We got to get the kids back in the car," and the other lady who's with him is all like, "Oh wow, they're just having fun," and she's like, "Get them back in the car," and then so all the kids start walking away, and then Jess gives the lady some money, and then the other lady who came up is all like, "Oh, some girl got murdered in the park,"
Yep.
and she's all like, "Oh yeah, I heard about that," and she's like, "Well, hey, your phone's ringing, by the way," and Jess is like, "Oh shit, bye,"
Bye.
and then she goes and picks
Oh,
up the phone.
this is the part. This is the part. She gets the phone call. The phone starts ringing. She goes, "Oh, your phone's ringing." So she goes back in there. She answers it, and this is where we hear about the wart thing. Like so it's like verbatim of the killer heard or is a part of this conversation.
And you can tell that freaks her out because,
Yeah.
like, they told her you got to keep him on the line, and after he says that, she kind of like freezes because
Yeah.
she's like, "Wait, what?" And then he hangs up, and then they're all like, "Oh, we couldn't get it in time. You gotta hold him on the phone longer." And she's like, "Yeah, but this is really freaky." And they're like, "We know it sucks."
She
And
doesn't
this
she doesn't just freeze. She like actually gaffs because the cops all notice.
Oh yeah.
John
because,
Saxon's character
John-
even brings it up. When he says that thing about the
Yeah.
wart, like that means
Yeah.
something to you, and she lies.
says-
It's like no.
and he's like, "I don't want you to lie to me now."
And he goes, "Well, we had and she brings up about that they had the argument and stuff, and pretty much all the backstory." He goes, "Do you think maybe he's kind of like lost it, like mentally or whatever?" And she's like, "No, I don't see him."
We forgot a tiny thing.
forget this
When
time.
John Saxon left after they tapped the phone, it shows Peter creep out from behind one of the phone poles, like to show that he's still around and he didn't actually leave.
Yeah.
And when did Peter come down from the steps? Like,
way earlier. Like that's when he has the conversation with her about like marry me, and she's all like no.
okay, so we talked about him being in the house upstairs,
Right.
and then
But then
he was
he
like,
leaves.
I'm just sleeping. That
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
bad.
really? Come on now.
But then, like I said, then he
It's
leaves.
looking bad, man.
But he doesn't actually leave.
Yeah.
And eventually we get a phone call from him because he's totally broken down and is like talking crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's when John asks like, so how stable would you say he is? And she's like, oh no, he's fine, I promise.
Oh, and then after this, this is when Phyllis goes into. Oh no, we get.
No, because Phyllis goes and Jess are talking about.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
do you think
right.
it's Peter? And she's like,
Yeah.
no, I don't think it's Peter. And Phyllis
Yeah.
is like, I'm pretty sure it's Peter. And she's like, no.
And then she screams because she sees a face by the kitchen
Yep.
window.
And then it's just two fucking yokels with guns.
It's like, hey, we're out here just
There's a search
scene is
party.
Very weird.
We're a search party. We just go knocking on doors with our like shotguns pointed at you.
By the way, did you hear about the dead kid?
And they're like, yeah, we did. Please go. And they're like, oh yeah, well just make sure to lock your doors and like close your windows. And they're like, yeah, we'll do that. And it's like, yeah, well just be sure to lock your doors and close your windows. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about this whole altercation, it was like right when they closed the door, then they had that older men creepy thing where they're like, oh yeah, the two pretty girls talking to us.
And then it shows their side of it where they're like, we'd rather face the killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're giggling and stuff like that. And Jess goes, seriously, though, we do need to lock the doors and windows.
Yeah.
It's like literally none of our windows and doors are locked. What the hell's going on?
I know.
That was my favorite part.
I know.
This should have been a standard a long time ago. But all right.
And so then Phyllis goes up to check on Barb and like
She enters the room and gets ambushed.
well, I really love the way, like, I personally love this kill because it's another one that you don't see and you don't even hear. But what happens
Pretty
is,
much all of.
I really like that you don't even see him. You just see her, like, slowly enter the room and then the door just closes because you knew that he was standing, like, directly there, like, ready for
You
this.
see her reaction because she kind of turns
Oh, yeah.
and it's like
And-
slowly.
And seeing like what makes this movie great is I'm sorry.
No, I was about to throw
Go
a
ahead.
shitty joke.
Throw a shitty joke.
All right, Jesse, I bet you can say this death was adorable.
Oh, poor Phyllis.
Now I want you to talk about.
No, I was just gonna say this is one of the parts where like you just reminded like how great your imagination is.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to like all these kills. A lot of them are off screen. You don't see it.
Here's the other thing, because
but it's still scary. It's horrific.
We compared this to Halloween, and like Billy is not Michael Myers. Michael Myers is kind of like a one and done sort of killer, whereas I forget when this happens, but like after something, we're in Billy's POV in the attic when he's freaking the fuck out. He's just like rambling and yelling and like shaking the chair that Claire is sitting in.
Well,
bashing
a lot
things
of the phone calls he has, especially towards the end of the movie, are him saying stuff like, please help me, please stop me, I don't want to do this anymore. So you kind of get the feeling that when he is freaking out, it's him kind of in like a state where he's like, I can't believe I did that again. What the hell's wrong with me?
So that's another reason why your imagination works really well, because it wasn't like he just stabbed her when she goes into that room. No, that was like, it was bad, whatever happened.
I always thought him freaking out was like him like celebrating. Because like that scene, like when the taxi driver's driving Ray, then he immediately goes berserk. That means like I always interpret it as like
That's
he
what
has
it
the
was.
house to himself, so
I didn't
he can
read
now.
it that way, but I could see why you would. But for me,
Yeah.
he seemed really like
And-
agitated with something. He was,
Well,
like,
and-
that wasn't celebration freaking out to me. That
No.
was like
Frustration.
Yeah.
Hey, but I think what it was, honestly, I think it was for us to throw the target on Peter, because remember how he busted the piano? I think we're like, oh, Peter freaked out. He's freaking out. This is Peter is the killer. Of course, if you guys at this time you guys have already watched the movie, it's Billy. It's not Peter. But
I do agree with Sydney though that the sense I got from this is that there's actually like a side of Billy that doesn't want to be doing this. That's what I got.
Okay.
no, I think there's like see, and this is the beautiful part about it. It's our imagination. I do feel like he's come so far to the point where he's having remorse, but he can't stop.
Like
It's almost like it's part
like
of
how
his
Michael
nature.
Myers is just like a monster of a human. There's like nothing to him. Not nothing to him in like a bad way. I mean nothing to him in a good way, where it's like there's no reason.
There's nothing to him but the desire to kill.
With
Exactly.
Billy, it seems clear to me that this is a broken person who didn't have like something happened in this person's life.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't just like one day he stabbed his sister and like was all like, oh,
See, because we're not even entirely sure his name is Billy, you know?
right. Yeah, he could just be saying that because he's saying Billy and Agnes, and we don't know.
Yeah.
You're left to figure that
Where
out on your own.
Because sometimes
everybody
it
I've
sound like
ever
he's
heard
talking
is
to
always
Billy.
talks to Billy. Yeah.
So after this happens, he calls again, and this time she keeps him on the phone long enough where they find what house it is, and they're like, "Oh, what house?" John Saxon is like, "Okay, what's the address?"
To Nash.
And they say the address, and no, not to Nash. It's
Oh,
whoever's
oh
in
yeah,
the
that's right. Okay,
phone.
that's right.
And he's like, "I think you messed up, man, because that's the house they're from." And he's like, "No, the call's coming from inside the house." And he's just like, "Fuck."
So
I
okay,
do love how.
So-
sorry.
go ahead.
Well, I do love how these scenes go because like you start to add like that dramatic music and that and that's when you start to feel it too, especially for this
Oh,
movie.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because and I also love that like then he does call Nash and then he's all like, okay, he's very calm. He's like, so I want you to call the house. I want you to tell her to walk out the door after she puts up the phone, and I'll be there in 5 minutes.
And he
I
said,
don't want you
don't
to
you
tell
fuck
her-
this
do
up.
I'll fucking kill you.
He,
He says, don't fuck this up, man.
And do you know what I love is that when it does have Nash calling her, you can tell that even this bumblefuck is like taking this seriously now. Where he actually does try. He's like, don't ask questions. I want you to just leave the house. And she's like, why? And he's like, I just don't leave the house.
Let me go wake up my roommates. No, don't do that.
Yeah, and of course now we have the urban legend. Now it's the call
call's
coming from inside the house. Which one of my favorite horror movies, older horror movies, comes from that same thing as When a Stranger Calls, the first one, the
I
original.
haven't seen that one actually.
Dude,
I will.
it's
on my list.
creepy. Like it literally the creepiest part is the first like 15 minutes of the
I
movie.
have. Yeah, I want to watch it.
But it's so good. But that whole thought process of like you feel safe behind these locked doors, these closed windows, and yet the killer's inside the house.
That's like a quarter of
Yeah.
urban legends
Yes.
are he's in the house or he's in the walls, and like half of creepypastas are, oh, there was some crazy person living in this cubby behind the stairs all this
Was
time and I
this-
didn't know it.
There's
Was
some
this
true
the-
stories to that.
Yeah.
but we don't have a clown statue.
Oh,
this
yeah,
the,
yeah.
Was this the first movie to do
This
that?
was the first movie to do that.
Yep.
All right.
One of
I
my
trust
favorite
you,
things
Jesse.
about this,
I believe.
It is. Well, that's where he got the idea, was that urban legend.
And
I
then
don't
watched
think
one of the comments. Actually, it was a 1960s film called. Blah, 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 blah.
directed by
There's an obscure Alfred Hitchcock movie where he did that.
Well, there's like one of my favorite things is the actual setting, like the house inside. It's so warm and cozy and
Oh, I'm-
safe.
I'm definitely
And then
gonna talk about that
outside,
later.
yeah, like it's just like this hard shell.
The house is such a good setting, and I'm gonna later on go like usually. I'm really critical of the final chase scene, and I think the final chase scene in this one is brilliant. But I'll get to that when it happens.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll save all my
Yeah.
stuff when you
'Cause-
talk about
Okay,
it.
okay, but so
Because
Nash,
there's a scene I want to talk about too once we finish up because we forgot about it.
What was
But it's
it?
another scene involving Laughing Cop, but I don't remember the context and I don't remember why he's
Oh,
laughing. but-
Buckshot.
oh yeah, one of the
Oh,
old
yes.
old crazy man is in the police station, and he's just like, I would do it again. He came onto my property,
Oh yeah, he shot him
And
in
there's
the
a
back.
cop
I'm
with
like,
just-
is this normal?
Yeah,
bleeding out of his ass, and he's just like. Sydney,
it
you
felt
wanted,
like a Pulp Fiction scene.
Sydney, you wanted to talk about it?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say it was the best scene with Laughing Cop where he's sitting there trying to hold in his laughter and John Saxon walks up to him and he's obviously trying to suppress his smile too. And then he just looks
'cause
at him and
it's
says,
great.
"If you laugh, I'm busting your ass down to Boy Scout." And that makes him actually start laughing even harder.
Oh, it's great.
But
So back to the scary shit.
Back
Back to
back
the most
movie.
climactic
back,
part of
back
the
to
movie.
the movie. Of course.
Nash is on the phone with her, and
Yeah.
he's like, "No, don't go up there." And then
It's
he
like-
eventually like breaks down. He's like, "Look, it's inside the house," and she's just like, "What?" And again, I really like this because, like I said, Bumblefuck Nash, even he's like taking this seriously, and
Yeah,
he's like,
he's like-
"I want to protect you. Leave now."
He's like, get out of the house, get out now. And she's like, well, Barb's here.
I gotta
and
save my
I gotta
friends."
save my friends. So she arms herself with a poker, and what does she do? She goes upstairs, which is like a callback for a
Scream.
future Scream.
That
It's
has
like,
to
why don't they go out the front door? They're running up the steps.
I will say this:
This is where it all
a
began.
lot of like, okay, you gotta say this about horror movies.
Yes.
if there were cowardly main characters, we'd have a lot more alive people. But you don't want that. You want the brave character who actually gives a shit about their friends and is all like, no, I'm going to try to help them.
But
When
with
we're
that
done
being
recording,
said,
I want to talk to you about one movie I saw where the main character is kind of cowardly.
Nice.
It's
that's what I
great.
was gonna say. There's been times
That's
where
my-
you see
I love
a good
cowardly
coward.
people run away, and then they're the first to
Well,
die.
that's true. But I'm just like, for horror movies to work, you usually want your main character to give a shit.
Yeah.
And so-
It's the thing like with paperboat characters, you don't want the character just to be like this object that doesn't move itself. You want the character to be the thing that's moving the
Exactly.
story instead of just having like the story being like this water stream and
Yeah.
your character just a boat.
So she goes upstairs, and okay, this is actually my favorite scene in the movie because it's like my biggest oh shit moment. I don't know about you guys, but so she like goes up to Barb's room, creaks open the door, and
This is one of my freakiest
This
parts.
is the best scene.
Yeah.
she sees both bodies all mangled and bloody on the bed, and she like
Kudos.
freaks out, falls to her knees in like panic, but then she like hears something, looks up, and through the crack in the door, Billy is like looking daggers at her, just and like
Dude.
inches away from her.
and it's so
Don't tell anyone.
yeah,
And that's
so creepy as fuck.
To me, that's the
love
scariest
this
thing
movie.
to know that he's like inches away from her, and like,
Yep.
Such a good goddamn scene.
oh.
Yeah.
But then she's actually like smarter than most like heroines who come after her because she actually doesn't take much time to be like, oh fuck. She like immediately like gets up, slams the door, and you hear him go, oh.
She well, you
You
say
made it
that,
sound
but
like
she
Pee Wee
immediately
Herman.
squanders her head start. Like she has a pretty decent
well,
head start on him, and just
I actually
immediately
love that.
wastes it.
And this, I'm gonna talk about why I love that in a second because she like instantly starts running, and to me this feels like very good editing and frantic. And
Yeah.
the part I love about this is like it's your home. You're supposed to feel safe and secure. It's like you know this place, but actually when you're like in a panic and freak out mode, like you're bumbling, you're hitting into the walls and stuff, and you're like so focused on getting away that you're not focused on where the killer is, the person that's
Yes.
coming after you. And because you're like not knowing where he is, you know that he could literally be like anywhere, like 2 steps behind you or 2 like yards behind you. And so that's what this whole scene conveys so well because like you never actually see him like full bodied following
No.
her. You see like arms and legs like going over here. Like
Yeah.
you're as confused and discombobulated as she is, and I really like that.
Like when because she runs to the door, she tries to open it, and of course it's locked. Finally, it's locked.
Yep.
And so she runs back because she's trying to get out another way, and of course he grabs her
arm
by the
grabs the
hair.
hair,
And which, like you said, they don't show a whole body. They always just show like his hand, his arm, his eye. That's
His
all you
back.
get to see. His back. Yeah.
It's
So-
like this thing where it should be the place where you're like most ready to handle something like this, and because of that, you're actually the least ready because you're so thrown off your guard that like you're not like I said, you're just not focusing enough on where he is, and I really
And-
like that.
Billy's like yelling his head
Oh,
off
he's
too.
fucking
Like,
losing it.
It's
And
it's
it's
one,
terrifying.
It's one of the reasons like Leatherface also scares me,
Mm-hmm.
and Billy also scares me because instead of just Michael Myers, where you have the music being like the thing that's like scaring you, and just him calmly running,
This one you
it's
just-
this guy running around going. "Blah, blah, blah."
And you know he's coming. You know
Yeah.
he's like right on your ass. And
Yeah.
He's just like, Rah!
It's fucking
And so she eventually gets to the basement, slams
Cellar.
the lock shut, and
Yep.
I really love the sound effects of him banging on the door because that doesn't sound like fake ass shit. That sounds like a man trying to like claw his way through that fucking door.
exactly.
It's probably what they told him to do.
It's not like someone just like kind of just patting the table or something like that going, well, I tried. It's just the person like about to headbutt.
And of course she's hiding from him down in the cellar, and then of course we get to see lovable, likable Peter coming
Lovable?
through. Exactly.
I do.
With his Aragorn, son of Arathorn looking face.
I was gonna say,
Jess,
but I do
Jess.
love before we know it's him,
Oh.
and he's like stepping. You see his like silhouette outside of the windows, like peering down,
Yeah.
looking in. That's so
It-
like a creepy moment.
And he like his silhouette was moving very weirdly too.
Also, we need to mention that the cop got his throat slit, who was like set.
Oh,
to
yeah.
protect
Oh, the
him.
cop.
Oh
car,
yeah, yeah.
And
They
he's-
keep trying to.
he's
They
why-
keep like the other police officers keep trying to call his car, but for whatever reason he's not answering.
He's why I'm going to talk about
He's a
Peter.
little choked up.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Peter because of this. Because Peter eventually like gets down to one of the windows. Jess, is that you? Scrubs it open, kicks the glass in, and jumps down. And he's all, oh hey, how's it going? And
Where are you
she's
hiding?
like,
What's
"Fuck you."
wrong?
Are you
Like,
upset
fuck
with
you, fuck
me?
you, fuck you.
What's up?
And so he gets close, and before we see what happens, it smash cuts to the cars pulling into the drive,
Yep.
and then you hear like her screaming her head off, and they're like, "Fuck, run!" And he like John Saxon takes note of the dead cop. They break down the basement door, goes down, and then I actually like Sydney. You were talking about how like visually impressive the movie was. I really like the framing shot of this, of seeing like
him laying on her.
like laid out, his like head bashed in and like bleeding
Yes.
everywhere. And
So
she's
just-
just like,
honestly, well, the first time you see her, it's you can't even tell whether or not she's alive or dead. It's great.
I know.
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
seeing, so the audience is now seeing that she killed Peter, and we're under the assumption that Peter was the killer, and
As
she
are the
finally killed him.
cops.
And and the cops and everybody.
Because
And
then
it-
we cut to her being like laid out in
Then-
one of the rooms,
and
to
they're
be
all
like, "Oh, it's
looking
gonna be a
over.
while before you can talk to her. This is some counseling time that
Yeah.
she's gonna need."
Yeah.
And of course, we go and the cops are called out by something.
There are reporters,
Yeah,
and they try to
reporters.
shoot them away. And
Yeah.
the father,
There's
of
two
Claire-
doctors left in the
fainted.
room.
Yeah.
because here's they have apparently hauled out some of the bodies. Apparently, not all of them.
Oh, and they said that we have our pretty much the morgue is filled.
Yeah.
We don't even have enough places to put the bodies. kind of thing.
Claire's father like has like a fainting moment, and they have to like haul him away, and
Which-
everybody eventually leaves the room. And if I have to be a nitpicky asshole, I'd say this is my one. I don't know how the 70s policeman works, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't just leave this girl alone in the house where the murders happened.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
No,
they're
they
thinking
didn't.
it's-
They didn't.
they
This
think it's
actually,
Seth.
I actually like this a lot because there's two doctors there as well as the police, and the police are getting ready to leave to fill out their paperwork and whatever. But the doctors straight up say that we're going to stay here with the girl, and they do.
Do
Like they
they?
stay there after the cops leave. Yeah, they stay there. It's
They're
when
not in the room,
it's
though.
when the dad has his fainting spell, because he doesn't just faint; he's going into
Oh,
shock.
Oh yeah.
And
then
if
they
you go
carry
into
him away.
shock,
Right,
you can
right.
actually die from that. So they
Yeah.
they have to haul him away to the ER.
So I do agree with that. That I like that how they get them out of the room, and even as the like in the last shot when it's panning away, you see a cop that's like out on the front door and stuff. I still feel like even with the doctors gone, they would have like had somebody say, "Go back to the room and like sit with her." Like,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
somebody's going to be with the girl.
Well,
Yeah,
and,
you could have Lieutenant Nash. He's useless.
and then
Yeah.
and then we get the camera pan away from the
Oh, and
house.
it's so good
and then
because
you
it
and then
pans to like the
creepy.
sites of the murders,
then-
like Claire's room, and it goes to
Oh,
like the house mother's room.
yeah, and you don't know her fate just because this is left to the imagination. But the phone starts to ring, so part of me feels like she's dead.
Well,
like
wait,
he
wait.
killed her. He
Wait, the phone starts to ring after the final shot is like panning up the ladder, and you see the trapdoor of the ladder close.
yeah, that's true.
And you know he's back up there.
So we
Best,
know. But,
best ending credits ever, I gotta
Yes.
say.
That is really
and I
good.
and see, and that's the beautiful thing about it is like, you know, your imagination is running wild right now. It's like, what happened to Jess? Did she die? Was that ringing because of her death? Because he kept killing people, and then the phone would ring.
So, and
So-
and it like goes back up to show Claire and the house mother who are still
Yeah.
in the attic. So apparently the police didn't do a very good job of searching.
Searching,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Well,
so the
I
father
feel like,
still doesn't know his daughter's dead.
yeah.
But
Probably
then
why he went into shock.
the
Yeah,
last
because
shot
this is when he realized that. Oh wait, and even that's
Yeah.
kind of internalized. Like he could have realized. Oh wait, this killer was in the house the entire time.
Mhm.
My daughter's still missing, and that could have just literally been him realizing, oh God, she's dead, and then he goes.
There's
into
no
shock.
way she's alive. Yeah. And then the last shot is like panning away from the house from the window where you can see Claire's like dead body, like still there. And then, like you said, the phone rings, and you see the cop kind of go like, "Hmm," and then he just goes back to what he was doing. But then the credits start rolling, and I couldn't really like follow where he was, so I don't know if something happens with that.
Yeah.
I don't think so. You know, at least you can't see anything happen.
I was.
Now I want to talk about Peter. If after what you
Go ahead. Throw Peter out under the bus.
Oh,
there
I just
a-
wanted to say real quick before you go, we didn't actually mention the end credits for this movie are actually incredibly short.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no music. The whole time it's the phone ringing. And at first the phone ringing is faint, as if you're hearing it from outside the house. But as the credits get closer to the end, it slowly gets louder and louder and louder until it sounds like it's blaring in your ears. It's great.
That's
So-
cool.
And the thing I wanted to talk about Peter was, it's like, oh, we say, oh, she killed the innocent. Isn't she going to feel terrible if she lives? Which she probably doesn't. But I don't know how I feel about that, because I'm pretty sure that like she was probably good in killing him, because I think there's a chance he's the one that killed the cop.
Yes, I could see that.
That's an interesting.
Because
Obviously-
as far as we know, we
you're
never
not-
see the POV of Billy leaving the
The
house
house.
or doing anything like
And
that.
every
Like-
time we see Billy kill someone, we see a POV.
Uh-huh. And we hear a phone ringing, and like all the phone rings are accounted for. So I think there's a chance that like Peter had snapped and was going to do something to her.
Yeah,
so
like because I don't think
that's
because the way
that's a
Peter
good
was
one.
acting, I don't think he was there on.
It's such a different thing from his last phone call,
Oh.
because in his last phone call he was totally broken down, but in this one he's all like, "Oh hey Jess," he's really like, it's almost like sociopathic where he's like, "I don't know what's
Yeah,
going
like
on."
something
See-
just clicked.
Yeah,
And for me, like, and this is kind of like a lot of people's views on this, is that they believe that the story is that Billy, the backstory would have been that Billy lived in this house before it was a sorority house, and he murdered his family, and he
lived in the attic.
yeah, and then he came back in, and he was staying up in the attic because another thing is like a lot of the stuff that was in the attic was like boxes, a carousel thing. There's not much stuff what a sorority house would have
Right.
in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, she even says that she needs to clean this place out,
Yeah.
implying that she never has.
Yeah,
Like, this
and-
has always been here.
So that implied that Billy knew his way around the house and all that stuff, and I feel like with the remake they kind of touch on it a lot of those stories and stuff, and I think it was better this way.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we can look like, so we can analyze it ourselves, like kind of like how you just brought up the thing about the cop. I didn't even think about that, and
Yeah.
that is
See, I
really
didn't even
good
think that.
because now I really think he did. Fuck that dude,
Yeah.
Fuck Billy.
you know.
or
That's why
other
it's,
guy.
No,
that's why I think
Peter.
It's, that's
Peter.
why I think
Peter.
it's
Fuck
a good
Peter.
red herring, because it's like, it's not a red herring. Bad shit was going to go down if
Yeah.
he wasn't stopped. I
Exactly.
think, in my opinion.
No, that's cool, and it gives Jess an out too, you know, because we like Jess.
I do. I hope she didn't die. But then now that Sydney mentioned the phone call, and that made me remember, oh yeah, the phone calls only happened after somebody dies.
That's what I'm
Fuck.
saying. That's what I was saying. Like I feel she died because of
In
that.
my weird headcanon, where I put all horror movies in the same universe, all the final girls get together and create a final girl team where they hunt slashers.
Like the
Okay,
Final Girl
okay.
Adventures.
Yes.
Okay, so
And
there
she's
was
one of
there
We'll
was
never get our
a
sequel,
one of the
so.
actresses, one of the head actresses in one of the earlier the Friday the 13th movies actually proposed that idea. It didn't get off the ground.
It would have been great.
Wow.
I know there's a
Where
comic
where every final girl from a Friday the 13th movie gets together to form an anti-Jason squad.
There's
Dude, that'd
a,
be dope.
Fucking
There's a
down with
comic
that.
book. There's a comic book called Hack Slash where the main
Ah,
character is.
wait,
Yeah.
is that the one I'm thinking of?
There's this goth girl going around killing slashers with her big slasher buddy.
Yeah. Oh, that comic's
That
great.
sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, yeah,
Dude,
it's great.
Liam,
Yeah.
fucking read that. It's super in your wheelhouse,
Everything,
dude.
everything I
Alright.
could say about it, it's better than I'm making it sound. But the thing with
They,
that,
there's a crossover with Chucky in it. It's amazing.
and the Reanimator.
oh, I
really?
forgot about the Reanimator.
Yep. And
Dude,
what I was
so-
going to say is, in that one, like, she starts out as, like, the only final girl, and as they continue saving people, they start building up a network of people who is all like, hey, we're all going to be, like, anti-slashers now.
That's awesome.
It is
So-
Plus, her character design is the best.
oh, it is.
So Sydney,
Yes.
you said this book is called Hack Slash.
Hack slash.
Hack slash.
Hack Slash. Now what
Not
was
hack
the
and slash, hack slash.
what was the other comic book you were wanting me to read?
Which one?
It was I'm pretty sure it was Pirate Planet.
What was it?
Pirate Planet.
Eh.
Yeah. all right.
Did you remember any of the plot details I gave you?
No, something sci-fi related.
Eh.
I
don't remember.
all right.
We'll talk about this later.
Well,
talk
yeah,
about this
yeah.
later.
Sorry,
Not
sorry,
later.
I love
audience.
this movie.
Yeah.
I was thinking while I was watching this movie that we talked about like doing commentaries for the movies that we were like reviewing, and I would actually really love to do this one because there are so many things that like I want to talk about. Like there's a lot of little acting in this, a little like subtle things that happen like behind the scenes that like I want to talk about in the moment because there's things I know I forgot that I want to.
Oh yeah, there's tons of
Oh,
shit
yeah.
I forgot about in this movie.
Yeah, and there's so much, like, it's one of those movies that we could probably keep revisiting and still have hours
Oh
to
fuck
talk
yes.
about
I
it.
love
Like,
this movie. I love it.
and I am one for like I want to see the death scenes, but this one it was perfect the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like and like I wouldn't change it for anything. And it was a movie I grew up watching when I was younger because I remember going to rent the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my grandma to rent it for me,
Let's
and
watch the
she,
Christmas movie.
yeah, and I said, and that's what I said. It was just a Christmas movie, blah blah blah. It's like like what
Don't mind-
she
don't
never
mind
asked
the-
what it
don't
was
mind the
rated.
suffocated woman on the front of the cover.
Exactly. So because whatever.
What's that mask, Ron? Oh, it's just a space helmet. It's in space. It's Christmas in
It's
space.
Christmas
That's
in
why it's
space.
called Black Christmas, because it's in
That's
space.
why-
Space.
It's the void.
Which
Dear God, the void has a holiday.
I will say this poster, the movie poster, is so good.
It is
like
the Christmas lights.
Yeah, it has like the wreath around the girl in the chair, and I think that's a great focal
I
point.
really like the front cover of like the re-release they do on Blu-ray.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you
Oh,
saw
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's
It
like
was-
it shows Billy, and,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like dark and gray and like. the
But
only,
it's
like,
that shot
actual-
of Billy when he's stabbing with the unicorn, where his arms are outstretched
Oh,
above his
yeah.
head and the shadow
his
is
eye.
cast over him except for his eye.
Yeah, and like around the DVD frame, there's like Christmas lights or something. It's really cool. And I just the first time I watched this movie was like last year around Christmas time
Okay.
too. So like I
It's a
was
staple for me every year.
oh really?
Yeah.
See, I can understand why this movie's great and like the
It's
more
by far and away the best Christmas movie. Like Silent Night, Deadly Night's fun, but it's shit.
yeah, it's true.
No, I actually have to disagree with you. I think Gremlins is my favorite Christmas horror movie.
Oh, damn it! I would prefer this one, but I do love me some Gremlins.
See,
I
and
think
that's where it's the touchy subject. It's like calling Gremlins a horror movie.
Oh, it
Yes, it
super
is.
is.
But at the same time, it's like when you think about horror, you're thinking like, man, how many body counts is there? And you're
Well,
like,
I was gonna say it's like, do I laugh more than I?
Hey,
do?
Gremlins has
Exactly.
a body count.
It does.
Gremlins
We
does
killed
have
that fucking old lady in the best
Yeah.
way possible.
I guess that
I
is
was
true.
so happy.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Damn
Forget
it!
about
Sorry
Dick
for
Clark,
anyone.
I think is his name.
Spoiler: Santa isn't real. He's dead in the chimney because he's her dad.
I guess my kids can't listen to this one.
You have your kids listening?
Wait,
No. You should see Jesse's face too. It's like what?
Rod. I usually try not to judge, but damn.
wow,
That's
just hardcore.
God, I can't believe you let your kids hang out with us.
Oh god.
Oh, sorry. I
said-
need to correct myself. I said Dick Clark earlier, talking about a character from Gremlins. That's not right. I don't remember his
I know
name.
you're talking about. Is it the guy from Chopping Mall? Also,
Yeah, the
I
guy
love
from
him.
yeah.
I love him. He's like, what is his name? God damn it!
I'm gonna look it
I
up
know-
right now. So
Yeah,
Dick
okay.
Grayson.
Dick Grayson, yes.
Yes.
I know exactly who he was talking about. He's like in so many horror movies.
he's in so many horror movies, and he always plays the same character as a big
Yes.
Easter egg to the first horror movie he was in.
Exactly.
Huh. I don't know.
He doesn't play that character in this movie. Dick Miller, that's his name.
Dick Miller. Yep, that's it.
I need to.
He was one of the
I need to
dicks.
see Chopping Mall.
So do we, you do. Do we
Yeah.
have anything else in this movie that we want to talk about? or
Oh,
do you-
I did want to talk about the setting.
Yes.
Like I wanted to talk about it, but when you brought it up, I was like, it would be much better if I put it on a back
Yeah.
burner. I really like wintertime in horror movies
I
because
do too.
it feels like everything feels dead, cold, isolated, and like inside the house feels like warm and cozy because it's Christmas and all that fun stuff. So like most horror movie or like I was expecting like this horror movie to deal with like Billy being outside, like this outside force trying to break into like this warm cozy thing, but the killer's already inside like throughout the beginning of the movie. So like the thing that's supposed to be warm and safe and
was
cozy
a lie.
Yeah.
was a lie, and it's like so it's like the best thing to be or the best thing to stay safe is going outside in that cold dead area and like those
Just running the fuck away.
yeah, just running the hell away. But like it's just so cool seeing like the house like on the far off shots. Sorry, I'm not a film major, so I don't know.
No, it's fine.
I don't know the terms of these shots, audience. But like it's just seeing that, like seeing the bright lights always just puts like a smile on my
Well,
face
that's-
because
if I could jump off that point,
Go
that's
on
why
ahead.
I really love this aspect of it more than say Halloween, because Halloween doesn't really take advantage that it's on Halloween. Whereas in Black Christmas, the fact that Christmas is Christmas and everyone's like, oh, it's a time of
Yeah.
cheer and joy and family and safety, and this is like a total like, no, you're not
Opposite.
safe.
Yeah.
We are going to subvert everything about like the emotion of this holiday. Like this wouldn't be the same movie without Christmas.
I will.
It's-
No.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
it's the same way. It's the same way I kind of like the earlier Friday 13th movies. because it's in the summer, so summer is like a season of like, passion and like
Joy.
very like passion, joy, like
It's
very
no,
heated.
you don't get to have sex. Stab.
Yeah, stab. And then like
Keep your clothes
it's
on.
it's like at the nighttime it's raining and stuff like that, and like they don't show like the lighting in the far off distance, so you can kind of see Jason like fading in, like getting stronger because he's walking in or running in or stuff like that.
love it.
It's so cool. Like for me, the environment can do such
a
good job for a movie.
I'd say
Atmosphere is
it's
one of the
one
most
of-
important part of a horror movie.
Exactly.
You just said what I was gonna
Definitely.
say.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly, and that's the reason like some of my favorite movies are still like the Evil Dead movies.
I was gonna say,
or,
like thinking about it now, if I like think of my top 10 list of horror movies, almost all of them are super dependent on the setting for making them what they are.
exactly.
The one thing I like more than a scary setting is a setting that shouldn't be scary but is.
Uh-huh.
A really good
That's why-
example.
like
Or even better, a setting that's good should be scary, but not for the reason you think. Like, I don't know how many of you guys have seen Attack the Block.
Oh
But
yeah.
it is a scary setting, but not for what happens in the movie, and that's great. I love that.
I love that. We need to do that one day.
I was just gonna say, like, I am a huge fan, even the cheesy and terrible like holiday movies. I just like holiday horror
I
movies.
know, it's so good.
And
Silent Night, Deadly Nights is a masterpiece.
honestly, that I would have done that, but I felt like this should have been our first
oh, this
Christmas
definitely
one.
should have.
I'm really glad this one was
yeah.
on, so thank you for
It's
picking it.
it's the start.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
next year
I-
we'll do Gremlins 2.
thank you, thank you.
As long as we do
Yeah.
Gremlins
No,
one
no,
before.
Gremlins,
No,
Gremlins
we're-
2.
we're
no,
doing
no, we can't do
Gremlins
Gremlins
2.
2 because Gremlins 2 is not a Christmas movie. It's a President's Day movie.
Yeah, there
Darn,
you are.
you're
See?
right.
So we'll do Gremlins next.
But it is
Christmas,
a horror
and then
movie,
we'll
so
do
we can have
Gremlins
it
2
on-
President's
We
Day.
can't talk about it.
Wait, what happened?
I don't want to talk about Gremlins 2. I was
So
bluffing. You
yeah,
called
it's
me
the
off.
new batch. Have you seen it?
I
Sydney,
love it.
Sydney,
Yes,
though.
I've seen it.
I want to be dead serious though. I do want to talk about Gremlins 2, the new batch,
I will later.
with Hulk Hogan.
I will.
Oh my gosh.
I will gladly talk about this.
Let us join
I-
forces.
Thank you.
I will get back with you on that Halloween, like how you said it wasn't Halloween-esque or whatever. I feel like the reason why is because the budget. Because like even down to Michael Myers' mask, they had to
I
improvise.
was gonna say, if we're talking like Halloween
know?
movies in general, like the series, Halloween 3, way more Halloweeny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
than
Halloween 3 is
1.
the only one that's Halloween at all. And then there's
Yeah.
the one
I
with
haven't seen the new
LL Cool J.
It's Halloween.
Oh,
Yeah,
you-
I figured that in the trailer that it looked like it takes more advantage of Halloween.
It's just a budget thing, I think, what it was.
Ron.
And what's up?
Say quick, which rapper was in a Halloween movie? I honestly don't remember.
Busta Rhymes.
yeah.
It was Busta Rhymes. That
And
my
it was
next
the
guess.
worst Halloween movie
Remember when
ever.
he tries to fist fight Michael Myers? It's the best.
Yes.
Or when
And then
he
of
does
course
Kung
it's
Fu.
like
That's a tough one. The
He's like-
first Halloween movie.
it is the worst one. I
But
don't
I-
care what. I'll fight people for it.
I feel bad for laughing at the scene in that Halloween movie when like Busta Rhymes dresses up as Michael Myers to like scare the live streamers. Then Michael Myers creeps up, and instead of like going, "Oh shit, it's Michael Myers," it's like, "What the hell are you doing? You're gonna blow my cover if they see two Michael Myers.
Exactly.
Go away, go away,
Trick or treat,
and,
motherfucker.
and it just like and Michael Myers just like. I don't know if I know.
What's
Walks
the
back,
hell-
and I was like, "That worked."
Question: which is the Halloween movie where like everyone in the block dresses up like Michael Myers when the cops are like actively searching for Michael Myers and they're like pointing guns? At
Oh,
these
dude, that'd
fucking
be
kids?
great.
That'd be really cool.
Oh.
That sounds like an awesome plot for like Scream.
I was gonna say that would work
I
way better with
think-
Scream than it would with Halloween.
I honestly
Yes, of
think that
course.
And
I think that
Halloween,
was
it's like, what the fuck are you idiots doing?
I think that was one of my favorite ones was part 6.
No, they already made a
Remember?
movie like
'Cause-
that came out recently about the
I
about that
I think
girl
it
in the
I will
was-
haunted
never
house.
understand you.
because part 6
Are you talking about Hellfest?
because I think when they find out
Yes.
that Michael's back because there was a dead body in the tree, they're like, well, which one is he? Because they're finding like all these different ones because everybody knows Michael Myers.
For me, the
You
worst
know.
is between Busta Rhymes and 6.
Busta Rhymes deserves an Oscar for his performance.
Dude,
6 is where
here-
he,
okay.
Jamie, right?
No, 6. Well, 6 is the one with Paul Rudd and
Yeah, that's the one with
Tommy.
Jamie.
Even better.
I love it because
To be fair, Matthew McConaughey is in a Texas Chainsaw movie, and, it's one of the better
best
ones.
one.
Yes, it's one of the better
I'll
movies.
get us to watch Next Generation, and
Thank
you
you.
will all be in for a treat.
Just know, Jesse, I'll be smiling.
Good.
Who's laughing now?
Who's? What was I gonna say?
I don't remember.
I
We
think need to
lost
give
it.
ratings.
Yes.
All right, let's
get to
sorry,
ratings.
we're getting
Yeah.
Who
so
wants to go
sidetracked.
first?
Let's say who. Well, it's nobody's pick. It was just our holiday one, really.
Right.
But
Yes.
so.
But
go
Liam
ahead,
started
Jesse.
us off, so he
Or
should go
Liam?
first.
Yeah.
Oh wow, throw me under the bus.
Fuck yeah.
Don't worry, there's
Okay.
plenty of room for the rest of us under that bus.
I was originally gonna give this movie like a 7 out of 10. But after talking about this movie with you guys, got me like
Like,
super
a little bit more.
excited. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, you know what? That scene was really cool. So I think I want to give this like an 8 out of 10. Billy's awesome. sorry. My bad. That was super inconvenient. My bad. Let me restart that sentence.
I don't think you like Billy at all.
Yeah. Sorry, that was my body physically
Billy-
rejecting.
Physically
that was-
rejecting Billy.
Yes. 8 out of 10. Billy's cool. I love Jess. I love like the conflict Jess has. I love like all these characters. Everything about it's great. Like, but if the reason why I do give it 8 out of 10 probably is like this does feel like a movie I will watch only around Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like this won't be a movie I pop in every weekend or something like that.
I could see that.
You know.
The Black Christmas podcast. We'll do it.
Yeah, every week
Every
we'll
week.
talk. But yeah, I'll pass it on to Jesse.
So I love this movie, and watching it again and talking about it, yeah, it's made me love this movie even more. And like, I don't know, Halloween gets a lot of credit for like kickstarting the slasher thingy, but like I think this movie deserves a lot of credit too. And I'd honestly give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Oh, are we
Yeah.
giving decimals?
Because there's
Damn.
decimals because like
Sorry,
I don't
that
know.
Breaking new ground.
I just love it. There's like there's basically nothing I would change, and there's nothing like wrong with it for what I feel. I don't know. That didn't make any sense, but yeah.
No, I get it.
All right, we'll go ahead and hey, Sid, go ahead and do yours, okay?
I think I'd give this one a 7 out of 10. It's a damn good movie, and you definitely can't deny the history it has. But I kind of got to agree with Liam. It's not something I feel like... Very rarely I feel like I want to watch this movie. It's definitely... I'm probably going to watch it once a year during Christmas for sure, but it's not something that I feel like I have to watch every year. Like whereas Christmas, I have to watch Die Hard, I have to watch Gremlins, I have to watch It's a Wonderful Life. This one not necessarily going to be on that list, you know?
Yeah.
So 7 out of 10 for me.
All right. So with mine, mainly with this movie is like it broke ground. Like it was definitely
ground.
yeah, it was definitely like, you know, untreaded ground, whatever you want to call it. The one thing that I always wish, and this is why it will never have a solid 10 for me, is I wanted to see more of the deaths, but like I wanted to see on-screen death more, but it was still freakier not seeing the death on screen. So, but then that's kind of why I like a little bit of the remake, even though I'm not saying the remake's better. It's definitely
really
not. It's really not. But it does have like it's one I'll rewatch and I enjoy it. But with this one, I was going to put it at a 9, but since I found out we can use decimals, I'm going to put it
Join me.
9.5.
Together we can rule
Yes.
one podcast.
9.35.
No.
Repeat it.
Exactly.
Here, since everyone's adding
33333.
decimals, since everyone's adding decimals, I will just slap like a Liam approval sticker.
I
on
love
like a
that
cup of
sticker.
I
eggnog.
honestly think that's like a good way to do it because
Yeah.
like, would you recommend it to someone? That's our like stickers of approval. And
Yeah,
heck yes,
I would
recommend
definitely recommend this. I would even
You and your
recommend.
decimals.
I'd recommend it too. To be completely honest, I know I'm definitely probably out of the four of us, I'm probably the coolest. I would recommend it to No, I'm the
Weird
coolest
flex,
on
but
this movie.
all right.
Oh,
I meant I'm the coolest on this movie, you know?
I was gonna say weird flex, but all right.
and I kind of want to throw this out there for our listeners out there. If you guys didn't like this movie, let us know. Or even if you did, like
If you
let
didn't
us know
like
how you
this
feel
movie,
about
fuck you.
Oh my god!
Well, I was gonna say, let
No.
us know, unless you're like one of those people who loves the remake of Psycho.
No, that's what I was
more
gonna
than
say, is
Psycho.
like,
then we'd have to tell you.
I wanted to say that, like, if you didn't like this movie because you didn't get the answers you were looking for, like, you wanted to know who Billy was, you wanted to know if Jess dies at the end, you wanted to know all these things, then
All
yes, the
losers.
remake will be for you.
You losers wanting your answers. And
Yeah.
everything in a nice little box.
Exactly, and
Well, it is Christmas.
but I will say the remake is worth checking out. I wouldn't say it's the best. Don't shake your head at me.
I'll
It is
shake
I
my
feel
great.
head.
like incest and flesh cookies. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the season.
honestly, those were two hard pills to swallow. But
you
the
know
death
what's great
scenes
about
were
this
really
movie?
good.
Atmosphere. The remake doesn't have it. You know what was great about this movie? The characters.
No,
The remake doesn't
that-
have it.
no,
you know
I-
what was great about the other movie? Acting. The new one doesn't have it.
Okay, I would challenge you on all that
Fight me in real life.
because like it was definitely like even in the sorority house, like where the bedrooms are, they had Christmas lights lining up throughout the whole
It's more
place.
than Christmas lights.
What I'm saying is, it felt like a Christmas.
We will
horror
do
movie.
Black Christmas remake one day, and
Yes.
we will have the Blood Wars.
We
Oh,
will definitely
and
do
rather
it.
not.
Not,
Audience.
but whatever.
And audience, if you do send us those emails, I hope you do. Want to know if someone's listening. Also,
Please,
feel free
please give us a reason to keep going.
to yes, but also send me
Sid's about to
why
quit
you
on
don't
us.
like it. Also send me why you don't like it if it's not the exact
Yeah.
reasons
And-
Ron's talking about. I want to know. I'm
and
curious.
since-
I am
Liam
I
said
am
that-
legitimately curious if someone does like the remake more. Like
And
why?
since Liam said that, let's use that as a great segue talking about emails to pimp out our email.
Yeah,
Yes.
so drop us a line at mikeintheasylum4@gmail.com. That's
Like us on Facebook
MIC
and Twitter and
in the
we
asylum.
don't have an Instagram.
The other three
Um,
asylums are lame.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we have, like Sid just said, Facebook, Twitter. I might start an Instagram, maybe if we like pictures. I don't know.
I'll be down with that.
Okay, and we can
We're also
do
on
some video.
YouTube.
We are, and I need to upload the next
Selfies
video.
before the podcast.
And but yeah, also let us know if this is your favorite Christmas movie or holiday movie. Like maybe you prefer Silent
I
Night, Deadly
do
Night.
really like Krampus.
Die
I
Hard
do
is
too.
my
I like
favorite.
Krampus.
Die Hard is great. I actually got to watch it
Wait, are
already
we
this
talking
year.
Christmas movies or horror Christmas movies?
Christmas movies.
Horror.
Oh,
I'm talking horror.
In that case,
also.
then he wins. I agree. Die Hard
Gremlins.
is Christmas
Gremlins
movie.
is my
I
favorite Christmas
think
movie.
Damn it, man.
No, because
Gremlins wins.
my favorite Christmas movie, non-horror, is White Christmas. Bing Crosby.
My-
My favorite non-horror, non-action, non-ironic answer is "It's a Wonderful Life." Fucking love
It's-
that.
That is
Such a good movie.
That is a good one too.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so.
I-
Christmas movies. Are
I love.
But
see,
I have to say, Gremlins might be my favorite.
it's my favorite, too.
It's one I hold more personal than the
Yeah.
other ones. That and
Alright.
It's a Wonderful Life.
so.
Hello, everyone. This is Jesse cutting in real fast because we had a little bit of a technical snafu where we lost the audio for what we had as the next week's episode. So instead, I'm coming in to say hi, and the next week's episode is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street. It was Ron's pick, a very famous movie. You might have heard of it. And yeah, we hope to see you all there. Thanks so much for listening.
I guess until next time, we'll leave it there.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Oh,
y'all.
that
Season
won't be
3.
on there.
And a happy Wookiee Life Day to all.
Yes.
Oh, fuck you, Liam.
Life-
Yes. Merry Christmas and Feliz Navidad and Happy Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and everything out there.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Whatever the hell. Happy Festivus.